Panago Pizza presents SDP, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
How about that? An intro with Jesse's name on it. It only took 5 years.
Fun fact to everybody sitting here, we didn't even play it.
Yeah.
Because I put it in after.
But
there you go.
I wanted to, the calls have been answered, especially the calls from Jesse, who has politely put up with the fact that we haven't changed our intro in 6 years.
Yep.
But we finally got it done. And,
Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Welcome to the show.
Official member of the show, Jesse Blake.
It's been a long time coming, but I'm proud to be a proud member of this show.
So here it is. It's the start of the season. From now on, we're going to be doing 2 episodes a week. As you know, it will be Sunday and Wednesday, just so you know, so you're clear. So you get your show after the national night on Saturday to kick off the week, and then you get your show midweek, gearing up for the weekend.
There might be the rare night where Jesse gets sleepy and you don't get it till Monday morning or something, right?
Yeah, well, you should expect that, okay? People have lives, okay?
And there's anger. There's so much anger when that doesn't happen.
Okay, man. You all right?
I'm just combating the anger with anger.
No, well,
Right.
that's very
It's
2019 of you.
It's worked out well on Twitter.
Yes.
That's all Twitter is.
Yeah.
Should we
true.
address the YouTube elephant in the room?
The new camera?
Yeah, we got new camera
New
set up.
cameras. Variety. Do a bunch of
We're trying to
switches.
think. Right now?
Just to
Yeah.
illustrate
All right.
it. Like, just be, look at all
Yeah.
that. That's so unnecessary.
Great radio.
It's on
Yeah.
Adam camera right now.
Is it?
It sure
Stupid.
is.
Now it's on Steve camera.
What?
Oh, Steve Cam.
Which one's that? That
Where's
one?
Jesse
No,
Cam?
I'm gonna get used to this.
that was Jesse Cam.
Yes,
Hey,
sexy Cam. And then there's the wide angle shot.
Now it's on that.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like it wide.
Eventually, we'll
Wow.
get a switch man. We'll call him Switch Man, and he'll be in charge of switching. So I don't
Switchman
have to-
Mitch.
Swi-
He'll be named Mitch.
Is his name going to be Mitch?
Yeah,
Has
we'll
to now.
overpay him.
Anybody named Mitch want to switch for us?
Yeah. And we'll have a rival podcast with a guy named Mikko who makes less, but produces as much, if not more. Yeah, it'll be great.
Yeah, well, we'll get to all that stuff, but
I
I think we've got some exciting stuff to announce over the next week. Stuff that we beyond the new cameras and everything that we're pretty pumped about. But you're going to start to see sort of a step forward with the show, and we've got some partners that we have to announce. We're pretty excited about that. In the meantime, though, let's talk about actual hockey.
Hey,
Which is great.
Every year I forget how much I miss it. Every year I forget how much I miss hockey. And it's been like finding $20 in your jacket, but 8 times. Because I keep forgetting there's a game on.
Yes.
And then it's 6:30 and I'm like, oh, yes!
Yeah.
Like, I get to watch hockey.
Well, I find myself towards the end of the summer going, oh, what the hell? I'm going to have to search for something to watch. Like, oh my God. Like, when you're like, I can't do a drama. I can't do like, I don't have the brain power to absorb whatever storyline it is going to be. Like, Mindhunter, for instance, one of my favorite shows on Netflix, still takes me a little bit to like, if I'm fried at the end of the day, I can't watch it because I'm going to miss something.
100%.
Whereas hockey, I'm
with
like,
you.
turn it on, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I
just
can
brainless.
absorb that.
Yeah. It wakes me up.
Yes.
I don't need to be awake for it. It wakes me up.
Bingo.
Even that game in Newfoundland, like second line center Jason Spezza.
It was great.
Which a few years ago, yeah, of course he is. But no, not anymore. Yeah, I was wide awake for that game. I was jacked.
It was awesome.
And it was terrible hockey.
Oh,
But it was great.
but that's a great part about terrible hockey. The Friday night game was my favorite this weekend because it was literally everybody who might be on the fourth line maybe, and everybody who ended up being waived basically. And we'll talk about who cleared today, but. There's been some amazing stuff that's happened in this camp. And we'll fast forward to the game last night. Obviously, 20, 30 seconds in, you have Matthews and Nylander and Janssen. And we were saying before the show that I feel like, and tell me if I'm crazy or not, I think Andreas Janssen is going to be the best passenger that line's ever had.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is Andreas Janssen is not a play driver. But you don't need more than 2 play drivers on a line. If you've got one play driver, as we saw with William Nylander between Connor Brown and Patrick Marleau in the playoffs last year, doesn't work out great. But if you got 2, it's perfect. If you got 3, it's too much, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a couple teams that make it work, like the Boston top line. They're all play drivers. They're amazing players.
It's just an unmatchable line.
Yes.
There's really 2 in the league. And
it's
the
Colorado
other one's
and
the Colorado one.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you have like it's like a Joker in President or Ass or whatever you call the card game.
Right.
Depending on which summer camp you went to, I guess. Like if you have the Joker, you play it. But the Leafs got a shitload of aces.
They do. And so seeing Andreas Janssen score that one was great because it was like, obviously Willie had a goal later on in the game that was a great Willie shot.
Poor
bullet.
Jimmy Howard.
Absolute bullet.
Oh my God.
Matthews looked amazing. And by the way, yes, we are going to talk about some of the Matthews stuff later on.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the hockey part right now. That line looks great. And it's not... What was funny about that line last year, obviously Nylander misses the first, 2 months and is never the same.
Yeah.
But Matthews seemed to be... they seem to saddle them with... It's like, here's a guy that's not performing. Let's put him with Matthews and Nylander and see if they can all get going.
And he never gave that treatment to the other line.
No.
The Hyman, Tavares, Marner line. I mean, if he broke it up, he would have been dumb, in fairness. But, that line never got that treatment. It was always Matthews. And they tried him with Nylander, I want to say, less than half a dozen games. Mm-hmm. And they never gave it a chance to work. And right around playoff time, it looked like, he might. And then friggin' Kadri gets suspended, who also looks great, by the way.
Yeah.
Fun.
Of course he does. He's a great player.
He is a great player.
So, but what's been great about this camp is the stuff that if you were walking into camp and I told you 3 guys are going to blow you away in this camp, you'd be like, damn, that's a great camp. Especially with a team like the Leafs. Like I can understand in a Detroit situation, which we have to get to because there's a very interesting stat about their first round picks that I want to talk about.
Interesting.
If you go to a Detroit camp or an Ottawa camp or an Edmonton camp, there's open jobs and there's room for surprises. In Toronto's camp, especially on forward, there's not a lot of room for surprises.
It's the worst year for this cap crunch because, I'm not even being hyperbolic saying this. They have 6 NHL lines.
Yes.
They do.
Which is good.
They have 6 3-man lines they could ice with confidence.
Yep.
Honest to God.
Absolutely. What's been interesting, though,
5 minimum.
When you look at the 3 surprises, at least for me in camp, 2 of them are forwards. Mikheyev.
Yeah. Oh, my God. And
Mikheyev, so here are the Russian signings we've had, right? It's been Zaitsev, who in his first year was a surprise and did play well. Based on the role he was in. A
36-point rookie right-handed defenseman that you only paid money for. That's a great signing. Mm-hmm. What they did after was their fault. Mm-hmm. But
I think they tried to make him into an all-round defenseman, and he never was going to be that.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy that needs to be on the power play and needs to be in an offensive role.
He might do better in Ottawa because of that.
I think he absolutely will. I think Connor Brown's going to score 20 goals. I think there's lots of that going on.
It's a great opportunity for a lot of those guys. I mean, first line is a little cruel, but...
Yeah. But Mikheyev's interesting because of what... So Zaitsev and then that boat anchor contract last year, and then they go out and they signed... And I mean, I know they had Rosen and Borgman and whatever, but those guys never really played for the big club in a sustained way. So I'm talking about guys that stayed. Igor Ozhiganov plus Nikita Zaitsev's contract. It wasn't even just Nikita Zaitsev. It was his contract as well. Yeah. So you have Igor Ozhiganov, who's not very good, and you've got...
He was there.
He existed. Yeah. And then you have Zaitsev, who was overpaid, and then people just started to hate him.
Yeah. Zaitsev made $1.5 million. We'd probably tolerate him just fine.
Yeah. And was also played in a role where he was the sixth guy. Because that's what he should have been. It's just they didn't have any depth on the right side. So all of that combined, we look at Mikheyev. Now, I want to say this with an asterisk because everybody looks superhuman in the preseason.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
This Mikheyev guy is a guy that we were like, yeah, whatever. Like when Mike Babcock had a picture of him outside of that breakfast place near the Esso down in Etobicoke where they practice. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't know what it is. And everybody's like, oh my God, here we go. He's got his new toy. That's a player. That's a real player. He is hungry for pucks.
Well, and this isn't like, remember last year Ty Ratty had like 8 goals or something like that playing with McDavid, and we're all like, oh, Ty Ratty's going to be sick.
The Oilers also went 6-1 last preseason.
Did they?
Yeah.
Wow. Because of Ty Ratty scoring.
Yeah.
Man, I would
goals
just
or
love to
whatever
look
it
up
was.
NHL by Matty tweets from the Oilers preseason last year.
Matty on Ratty.
Matty on Ratty,
I would
yes.
love to see it. But Mikheyev, I don't know, has like 2 assists, maybe, or something like that. I don't think he has a goal. It's just, we've been watching him play in and play out. The guy's got a friggin' motor, and he doesn't stop, and he's big, and he's fast, and he's annoying.
Yes.
He is, like, Babcock made him in a lab. I swear to God.
And it was interesting because, like, Danny DeKeyser at one point last night, like, I think it was Danny DeKeyser, he was fighting off one of the Detroit players for a puck. Now, this should have been a penalty. So they're both racing into the Detroit zone for a puck that's in the corner already, and right around the face-off circle in the zone, he knocks the other guy over, and the guy kind of flies over into the boards. And like Danny DeKeyser comes over and tries to cross-check him in the chin. And you know what? I think it was DeKeyser. It doesn't really matter. The point is, it pissed him off. The other defenseman made a point to come over and go and try to cross-check him. And yes, the initial play should have been a penalty. But the fact is,
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
But he got away with it, and he came out with the puck. And when they try to hit him, he's got a little bit of the Trevor Moore. You can't really like. You feel like with Mitch Marner, when Mitch Marner gets squeezed, you're like, Mitch Marner probably can hang on to this puck. Mm-hmm. When Trevor Moore gets squeezed, you're still not at the point, at least I'm not, where you're like, oh, he'll get through this, because you haven't seen him play enough. I know that the guys, like I know Mike Stevens is going like, Mike Stevens is like, well, he's Trevor Moore, he's the best, he's God. And he's right. Trevor Moore is great. But you think of it and you go, oh my God, that player can actually do that. Mikheyev's another one of those guys. He finds a way to squeeze. Yeah, he squeezes through the boards.
Really like him.
Fun to watch.
Really like that player, man.
Fun to watch, yeah. And doesn't speak a whole heck of a lot of English, so it's funny to hear guys just jawing at him. I don't think he understands what they're saying.
I know, he probably just smiled.
Yeah.
Russians are weird. They love that shit.
Yeah.
They love that stuff. They understand tone.
Yes.
I made him mad. Good.
Yes.
Good.
And that third line, which has not, I mean, given what's happened with Matthews and with Marner's contract and everything else, hasn't had a lot of
been there.
fanfare.
Kerfoot's getting a little bit he's not getting criticism. It's just everyone's underwhelmed with him. And I'm just sort of like, I don't know what you expected.
But he's not Nazem Kadri.
Well, no, and he's not going to be.
Yeah.
The expectation should have. Listen, if you expected him to be Nazem Kadri, you deserve to be disappointed. Like that was never going to happen. I think what's blown me away partially about Mikheyev, it's not even that he's this good; it's that he's this good, this quick.
Yes.
And with all the hurdles put in front of him, Kerfoot might be the only guy who's like actually succumbed to them a little bit. You know, brand new team, completely new line mates. He was a winger most of last year.
There's an adjustment.
They're shoving a square peg in a round hole a little bit with him.
I think with Kerfoot too, and we won't focus too much on him.
No.
But Kerfoot is a 20-20 guy. He's a 20-goal, 20-assist guy.
I'd be thrilled if he was 20-20.
He might even be 15-25. But you got it.
Something like
he
that.
Is a 40-point guy.
You get 40 points out of Kerfoot, you have nothing to complain about.
That's what they're expecting. So just know that. That's the expectation. But what Kerfoot does have is blazing speed, along with Trevor Moore. And with Mikheyev on that line, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Dude, it's a
great
hockey team. I'm really excited about it.
So the second guy also won forward that was a real surprise. And this is a guy that I think there's been one article in his favor in the entire time I have read anything on the Leafs.
Okay.
And I think it was from Pension Plan Puppets. Katya Knapp had I think it's Nape, right? Or Nap?
I'm not sure.
Sorry, Katya, my apologies. I don't know how to pronounce your name.
I've only seen it spelled, not said.
Yeah, so she wrote an article, I think, a year and a half ago on...
It was like 2 years,
on how Korshkov might actually be good.
Yeah.
And everybody else, and I think somewhat rightfully so, the guy broke his leg twice.
Yeah, like there wasn't a ton of footage, and he didn't play hockey very often because he kept getting hurt.
And the other option was they could have drafted DeBrincat.
Could have drafted DeBrincat. He kept getting hurt. He wasn't getting into hockey games. And remember, he was drafted as a 20-year-old, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, an overager.
There was no real reason, unless you did a little digging like she did, to be optimistic for this player. There just wasn't. He had the 1 goal in his first game with the Marlies last year. Hooray. That was all he got. That was his only point. And he has come into the preseason kicking absolute ass.
What was great was they put him on the power play last night. And he just sat his 6'7" ass in front of the net.
He's just a badger.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like a giant badger.
Yeah, he's huge. The guy's huge. And so that's been kind of fun to watch because obviously Mike Babcock, Mikheyev and Korshkov are big boys, right? And I say 6'7" because when they're on skates, that's how they look.
Right.
But I don't actually know. But the point is that Mike Babcock likes those big guys. I like those big guys too, if those big guys can play. And those big guys can play.
Korshkov might be exactly what they need. Because waivers is probably going to be a problem. Like, I expect them to lose a guy at least, maybe even 2.
Everybody got through today. Aber, Gaudette, which everybody was freaking out about. Gaudette,
I like him, yeah.
Ben Harper and Jordan Schmaltz are all clear.
Hooray. Yeah, we'll get to that later. But
yeah.
Korshkov, because he can go up and down, is super appealing to them, right? Because
Put him anywhere.
Yeah, you might lose an Agostino. You might lose a Shore. Gaudette is apparently safe.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that Korshkov looks this good and you have some control contractually, it's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Listen, off the ice, I have several notes.
Yes.
On the ice with this team, man.
There's no reason to complain.
No,
they had a
they're
great
about-
preseason. The lineup looked great. Everybody played well. No injuries. It was great.
Hutchison had the one bad game. He's looked great since.
Which is, who cares? It's your backup goalie.
Yep.
In the preseason, who had a bad
I
game.
believe.
Good.
Yeah, but it's preseason. Your backup goalie had a bad game. Whatever.
Henderson allowed 1 goal.
The whole preseason.
Right.
The whole
He
preseason.
allowed 1 goal.
Was it 4 shutouts for the team?
For the team as a whole? I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
I think Detroit went 10 minutes in the first period between shots. They had a shot
Crazy.
counter for Detroit. And it was like 16-1.
Yeah.
Like in terms of shots. Now the third surprise in camp was, and again, it's first off, it was the player. Second, it's how we pronounce his name. It's Sandin, everybody.
I don't know.
Rasmus Sandin.
We still don't know.
Let's
say
call him Sandy.
And we're calling him Sandin. I'm going with Sandin because it's close to Sundin. So if Sundin, if that's how you pronounce it in Swedish, the I-N is in, so it's Sandin to me until I'm
It's probably
corrected.
like Sundune or
Probably.
something.
But
Sandune.
He looks like the kind of guy well, I mean,
He's everything they need.
everything they need.
He's everything they
The
need.
only thing that's not perfect about him, not right-handed. That's the
That is
only
the
thing.
only complaint. Hey, but you know what? If they asked him to change hands, I think he wouldn't. He'd be fine. Man, he's a good player, man.
He is very, very good.
They played him 31 minutes. They played him. It's amazing watching Babcock go full jigsaw and just saying, I want to play a game. And like he's been doing like little versions of that with certain guys like, oh, so you want to be on the Leafs. He played Sandy in 31 minutes. Sandin as a third pairing defenseman is never going to play that much.
No.
He'll be lucky to hit 15 on most nights, and he more than doubled that.
Well, and it's funny because, Martin Marincin, at least out of last season, I'm like, okay, he's got to finally be done with this franchise, right? So he goes to the World Championships, plays his freaking lights out, like was great, and Babs was like, where was this? And
if you watch him play in the minors too,
he's great.
He's really good at that level. So
like I remember
like a classic tweener, right?
Yes.
Sort of?
Well, in the Marlies final that we watched, remember we went to game 7.
Yeah.
And we went to a few other games as well throughout that year.
He's got like dangles.
Yeah,
He's
and
got
he had
hands.
Yeah,
he had
he
the
looked
you shall
really
not
good.
pass thing though. That like he just denied. No, you will not get into
Yep.
Yeah.
denial. What was interesting is last night when you like and with those two together, they seemed to, as we mentioned, complement each other so perfectly. But when Marincin took a stinger after one of the plays, I was like, oh no, he's not injured. Please God, don't be injured. And I was like. Not that on a personal level you don't care that any player is injured, but like I had never cared I'd never been so worried for Marty Marincin. Like that I was like, oh my God, I want him in the starting lineup. He's played so well, right?
Yeah, I've been rooting for Marincin ever since. Well, because it seemed like he never really got a fair shot in Edmonton. No. So right away we're like, all right, screw it, we're gonna revive this guy, and the Leafs really need him, and they keep giving him chances, and he keeps flubbing it, and. You want to talk about flubbing it? Who had more of a tap-in for an NHL job than Jordan Schmaltz. Dude,
Yeah.
he's a right-handed defender who they got for Andreas Borgman. They need right-handers so bad. So bad. Liljegren didn't... He was fine. I thought people were too hard on him.
Oh, yeah,
but
he's fine. He's just not Sandin.
there was no reason to rush him. Have him go down to the Marlies, do his thing.
His
get
biggest
better.
thing is that he's not Sandin, and people are upset about that. He's
Well,
still an incredible AHL defenseman already.
And now that Sandin's not there, he's probably going to get more opportunity to like kill penalties and be on the power play.
I mean, they were
and stuff
hoping
like
to bring that pair up together because the two of them play together a lot.
It would have been nice, and maybe that's the plan at the end of the year. But Schmaltz, I was waiting for him. Most guys got better as the preseason went on. He got worse. His best game was the first one. He giveaways, taking penalties, and Marty Marincin just stapled himself to the kid.
Funny, eh?
And it worked out great.
Well, and what was interesting about that is you've got a former first-round pick, so there are skills there. But something Mike Babcock has always said about Martin Marincin that I have to admit, like
You're talking about Schmaltz, right?
Well, yeah, I think the same. I think he's got. There's a comparison there with Martin Marincin and Schmaltz, and the reason is that the skill is there. And this is what they've always said about Marincin. The skill is there; it exists. It's what's happening between the ears. And it seemed like Schmaltz's confidence wasn't there. It just seemed like he was fighting it a little bit, and that's what can happen. Training camp's short enough that can happen.
He might be fine. Dude, Rosen was terrible when he first arrived in the organization, and he might play games for Colorado.
Oh yeah,
Like he looks really good.
yeah.
The
He might
preseason
have played
looked
games
great
for the
in the
Leafs
Marlies.
this year if they'd hung on to him.
He would have. He
Nick
would have.
Shore's another guy that they, it was almost like last year going into the season, Nick Shore seemed like the perfect guy for the Leafs to pick up, and he ended up in the KHL.
Yeah.
So they pick him up this year. And what are your thoughts on Nick Shore so far? Like, advanced stats wise, he's a darling of that community. He really is. But has he stood out? Has he earned
Not
this?
much of a shot. No, the problem. Nick Shore's biggest problem is he's trying to make the Leafs, and again, they have 6 NHL lines. Would you be comfortable with Nick Shore in the NHL?
Yes.
I would be. Would you be comfortable with Kenny Agostino in the NHL?
Yes, actually, he's been very good.
Would you be comfortable with the Leafs signing Matt Reed?
Yes.
I would be. Pontus Aberg? I'm not.
He's not a Babcock guy, that's for sure.
No, I'm not as comfortable. Tyler Gaudette.
Yes.
I'd be confident with him.
Surprisingly, like that guy, was he 25 years old?
Yeah, and like Garrett Wilson played, I want to say, over 50 games in the NHL with the Penguins last year. He didn't play a single game for the Leafs because he's been injured. Oh my God, what's his first name? Kassala? They got him from the Ducks.
Yep.
I forget.
Casilla.
Casilla, he got hurt in the first game. Like, they're so freaking deep. They're so freaking deep. It sucks for sure.
So I was tweeting about this on Saturday, I believe it was, but I got the name wrong. The point I'm trying to make is in this is, so I was talking about the rumored Connor Brown to Edmonton trade. Now, what we thought initially here was that it was going to be Connor Brown for Adam Larsson, which in retrospect, how could anyone think that? Edmonton's not just going to give up Adam Larsson.
How could we think that? It's the NHL.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it wasn't Pete Chiarelli in charge though. So,
yeah, right.
Apparently the deal was going to be Matt Benning, right? Was it not going to be Matt Benning?
Or was it Ben Hutton? Remember?
Not Ben Hutton. It was definitely not Ben Hutton.
Are you sure?
Yes, because people were like, yes, someone made reference to that. It was definitely not him. I can guarantee you it was not. Because people were like, when I brought it up, people were like rolling their eyes at me, like, just make sure that it's not Ben Hutton.
Okay. No, Matt Benning. So that's Jim Benning's either son or nephew. Plays for the Oilers.
Yes.
Unlike Ben Hutton, who has Ben in the name, but it's not Benning.
But it's not him.
Played for the Canucks.
Right. So Matt Benning.
Nick Robertson's a forward. Everybody.
Matt Benning's a third pair defenseman. Connor Brown was a fourth line guy for the Leafs last year, but that doesn't mean he's a fourth line guy in general. Fourth, third, whatever you want to call him.
Jim Benning is Matt Benning's uncle. So Matt Benning's dad is Brian Benning, former NHL defenseman, and Brian Benning's brother is Jim Benning.
Okay.
Can we talk about how the NHL has like 13 last names?
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Like, In a few
Is that
years,
true?
Yeah.
it's just going to be
Just family.
Yeah, every roster is just going to be a family tree.
They're all cousins.
But
The Montreal Domies
here's what I said.
versus the.
Remember that rumored Connor Brown for, and I said Brandon Manning. It's not Brandon Manning. We'll say Matt Benning. So remember the rumored Connor Brown for Matt Benning deal last year at the trade deadline. That would have been bad. I think that would not have been good value for the Leafs, to be honest.
No.
Seems like the Leafs know that would have been bad, but they were sort of in a desperate situation. And I said, and they didn't want to have to look at something like that again. The D bubble depth, the depth on D at the bubble spot, which is 7, 8, 9, 10,
Yeah.
is so much deeper now than it was. So much deeper.
Gravel's fine.
Yeah,
I
he's
like
fine.
him.
But that's the thing. It's a bunch of guys. When you're trading at the trade deadline for those depth guys, because you're going to lose a couple defensemen, like Travis Dermott with a shoulder or whatever. You're going to have to bring those guys up in the playoffs. They don't want to have to worry about that come trade deadline because they don't want to piss away a fourth, a third, a second round pick on a guy like that. They made the signings in the summer. Yeah. They're here. They slipped them through waivers while everybody else was putting people on waivers and nobody can really sign anyone. And they're going to play with the Marlies. The Marlies are going to be stacked this year. They
ought to be.
They should be.
Yeah.
And then if they need those guys, they'll bring them up. Yep. And that's great because then you don't have to worry about the kind of the like nibbling around the edges at the trade deadline as much. And the Leafs really can't do that because they are so tight against the cap that I don't think that they could make a move.
Well, and if you're committed to being a cap team forever, which the Leafs are, you're not going to want to get rid of all those picks because you need them to be your next guys in line.
Right.
Rasmus Sandin, apart from being sick, part of the reason he's going to make this team is he's young and affordable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So they're going to need...
But it's funny, him making the team is a bit inconvenient because he's making more than minimum. If one of the vets on minimum at 775, because is he not in the 8? He's the second?
894.
894.
Yeah.
You know what? Deal with it.
So it's $120,000, but it's still I think the Leafs have like $40,000. Like that's it. They're really tight.
It's super tight.
And it was suggested today in The Athletic that they may have a couple games this year where they don't dress a full lineup.
And you know what's crazy? They can afford to do it.
Sure.
Like they'll be fine.
Yeah, like who on the fourth line sits. And actually I want to speak about that because a lot of people, myself included, continually doubt Freddie Gauthier, and yet here he is.
Man.
And he looks really good. This is the best Freddie Gauthier's ever looked, by the way.
His skating's so good.
Freddie Gauthier last year didn't look like this. There was flashes of this. It was okay. But he didn't look like this.
He became a better skater throughout the season.
And this is the preseason. We got to keep that in mind. It's the preseason.
Of course.
But Freddie Gauthier, for sure, deserves to be the fourth line center. There's no question.
Well, I think he's going to sort of split duties with Spezza, which I think is good for both of them. And Gauthier had one game on the wing last year and was awful. I can't even remember what game it was, but they just got fed. But that's the sort of experiment, like the Nick Patan at center thing from last year. It's like, can you not watch this fail once and just try it again?
Yeah,
just
give it a
see.
game. Give it a couple games.
Give it.
Doesn't matter.
For the love of God. Like, dude, Kapanen, Matthews, Nylander, I keep going back to this. Babcock gave them one period.
Yeah.
He gave them one stinking period.
Well, I wonder
I
wonder if the reason that they got fed that game too was that when Freddie Anderson was down?
I can't remember.
Because when he was injured, there were a few games it was like, ooh, this is
there
rough.
were a few touch and go games.
It's interesting though to see that. And what I like is that, on their strong hands, they'll take the faceoffs. But a lot like with Patrick Marleau last year and the year before, Jason Spezza probably doesn't necessarily always want to have the defensive responsibility it takes to be a fourth line center, the energy it takes to get back defensively. And that's and Mike Babcock needs to have that line trustworthy in a defensive zone start.
Well, and this whole Babcock trying to make him into a penalty killer just because he's a fourth liner now with Spezza. I'm like, he's not.
He's not.
He's not. That's not his skill set. His skill set isn't like going side to side crazy quick.
No.
You know what I mean?
He could just be the fourth line center.
Yeah, why not?
And he doesn't need to be on special teams.
He's guy. And power play specialist.
Yeah.
He'll be on your second unit and he'll do a good job.
Yep.
Because that's what he does.
Yeah.
He was one of Dallas's like bright spots during their playoff run where they were a double OT loss away from knocking off the Blues. People forget, man.
Yeah, they were close. And he's great. He's great in the face-off. Dot always has been.
Yeah. Sorry, any Stars fans.
So anyway,
old wounds.
Now, again, take all of this. Obviously, we're excited about the season. There have been surprises in camp that genuinely are like, wow, that deserves our praise. However, we don't have the blinders on it. You have to understand that it is preseason. Yeah. And,
Lucic and Tobias Reeder got 2 goals yesterday.
Bingo. That's the point. Now there were good surprises, which we've talked about. Now there was bad surprises, which is the Matthews situation. So this all stems from a Montreal Twitter account who, if I'm not mistaken, after the Leafs beat Montreal pretty badly, somehow this guy looked up Auston Matthews.
That's the impression I got.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard too. Is that this only came out publicly because somebody just happened to look up Scottsdale PD, Auston Matthews. I don't know how you do it.
Well, I don't know how you would have known.
Where would you start?
He said on his Twitter account that he was tipped off about it, and he never revealed where or who tipped him off.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. So I'll tell you what Steve and I have heard about the situation. We have heard privately that Matthews was going to be the captain. That's what we've heard.
Well,
now, we've also heard...
That's what everyone's heard for months.
But we've heard from reliable people that Matthews was going to be the captain.
CJ sat right there.
There you go.
And said
Auston Matthews would be the captain.
It's going to be him.
Now, the Leafs seem to be changing the narrative, which we can get to later. The breakdown of how this all went is crazy. So I'm going to read a little bit from Katie Strang.
Yeah.
Basically,
a lot of you already know this. Sit through it. It's got a point.
Yeah, and we're not gonna dwell too much on, because this has been talked about and talked about and talked about again, right?
Yeah.
The reason I didn't tweet about any of this stuff personally was because I was like, let's see how this situation plays out, and I think finally we're at a point where all the information is basically out.
Yeah.
There might be a video of Matthews trying to jump into the car with his friends that might come out.
I'm waiting for it to come out.
But
I've accepted that video is going to come out and it's going to suck.
Yeah, it will suck. But essentially, what happens is Auston Matthews and his buddies try to get into this security guard's car at his condo in Scottsdale. They think it'll be funny at 2 a.m. to jump in and see how she'll react. Right. Now, you don't need me to tell you that's insanely stupid, irresponsible, any word that you want to associate. Terrible. Yeah. Now, on top of that, what makes it worse is that it's a female security guard, and these are 3 grown men. It's 2 a.m. They're smashed out of their minds, and she has PTSD because she's a veteran. Now,
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So that's a part of it. It's not necessarily, that's not the focus. The fact is, they tried to do something extremely stupid, and then he pulls down his pants and like moons her with his underwear on.
Which is
and sure. And according to the condo board, he's been a problem all summer.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the many parts that alarmed me. Wasn't talked about enough.
Yeah. Like he's a known quantity there. That's not good.
Ain't good.
So, the thing, this is the quote that stood out to me. Because Auston Matthews' dad, who you've met,
Brian,
he arrives on scene to get the boys and comes in and says, You're full of shit. This never happened. And this would have gone away. She said that. I wouldn't have said a thing if it wasn't for that. She said, quote, the fact that you're denying it and your pompous dad is acting like you're practically Jesus and you'd never do such a thing. He had no response after they sent him the footage. He didn't have nothing to say. I had no intention of doing any of this, but when I saw the condo manager and she said, thank God they had the footage because the father was acting like my son would never do something like that and he's never done anything like that and everything she's saying is not true. Now you're calling me a liar and I now take offense to it. Now I'm pissed off. Now it's going to be my goal to show you that no, your son did do this. And if he can start doing this now and you're covering for him, then what's to say it's not going to get worse when he gets older? And that's what rubbed me the wrong way. Like, how dare you just lie? And maybe if you were drunk and don't recall, I'm pretty sure you remember some of it because your friends stressed to me, don't tell management. Doesn't that quote say it all? Now, I can understand.
Man.
Like listen, just take yourself out of your own reaction to this. And I think everybody's was pretty much the same. What a fucking stupid situation to get yourself into.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? This is fucking stupid. And we've all been 22 and stupid, but that doesn't make it excusable. This is insane.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
point, this is the problem. The problem is, as a dad, think about yourself as a dad in this situation. Your son got a check for $15.3 million on July 1st. Mm-hmm. Your instant thought, by the way, you have no idea what it's like to have that kind of wealth.
No,
Your
and
instant
or
thought,
to even be a father. Like, I don't know what it would be like to burst into, was it a police station? Or no, it was at the
condo. I believe.
I don't know what that's like, what sort of instincts kick in. I mean, you've only been a dad for a few months, but it seems like being a parent does crazy shit to your head.
Yes. Yeah, that isn't just a lack of sleep.
Yeah.
But you have the tendency, I think, and my kid's 4 months old, so I don't really know this for sure, but you have the tendency to think the best of your child and want to think the best because you as a parent are reflected in them.
Yeah.
Right? How they react is a in direct proportion to how you parented them. Or at least it is to a point. But this is a 22-year-old man, adult, has been an adult since he was 18, can drink.
Millionaire, supposed to be a leader.
Yes.
Right.
All that shit.
And so he probably, and I have to say, I think this needs to be acknowledged. I'm not excusing it, but I think it needs to be acknowledged. The fact that his son has come into incredible wealth recently, not that he didn't make millions before, but this, like, 15 million over 4 million, it's different.
Notch.
It's different.
It's a couple notches.
If you're Brian Matthews in this situation, my thinking is he probably thought this person's after money.
Maybe.
And that doesn't mean that it excuses anything. So save your fucking tweets for me, okay? Stop coming for me. I'm just trying to tell you that there's
always the place everyone goes.
Right.
Like, come on, man.
Now, does that excuse what Brian did? No.
No.
And this is the best part about this. It was funny. We were talking on Virgin Mornings about it. We talked a little bit about it on the air. That's how big a story was. It made it to Virgin Radio, right?
I saw that.
Yeah, we're a pop music station. We're not supposed to talk about that stuff, but it was a big deal.
But it's So it's an enormous story in the city, and it's not really hockey related.
Jax, who absolutely can't stand when we're talking about sports, which is all the time because it's Jesse and TJ and I always talking about sports, made a really good point. And she said, you know what? This could be the best thing that ever happens to him. Because she said if he wasn't caught here, it would have been something worse down the line. And she said, imagine this. He's the captain of the Leafs and this comes out.
Yeah.
She said, he's not ready, clearly. And he's not. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
And she said, captaincy aside, himself and his father need to take a look at a couple of things. The first thing is they need to take a look at who he's hanging out with. You are, by the way, this, and I truly believe this. I believe it was Richard Branson that said you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Oh, shit.
I know, I'm sorry. So be careful with who you surround yourself with. If there's anybody in your life right now that's poison, get rid of them because they're poisoning you.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, you have to look at this as a humbling experience for both of those guys too.
Yeah.
Pull your heads out of your asses, both of you. And know that Auston can make mistakes, Brian.
Well, and
it's possible.
Like,
Auston, you can't pull this shit. You won't skate.
No, and like I'm pretty. You won't skate. He looks pretty ashamed, and a lot of people are picking apart his words. I don't think there's much he's legally allowed to say.
If you didn't like the apology, sorry, it's before the courts. He can't make an apology yet. He can't say anything. So if you don't like the apology, too bad. I understand, but too bad. He can't say anything.
Tavares, it was either Tavares or Riley are both like, oh yeah, we're supporting our teammate. Well, supporting your teammate doesn't mean supporting his actions.
No.
And also, what did you think they were going to say? Yeah, well, you know, Austin.
Fuck him, am I right?
Like, what did you think?
Yeah.
Now, I've seen a lot of tweets like, what, you never done anything stupid while drunk?
Yes, I have.
Yes, I have. The point is now as a 31-year-old man, I look back on my drunken escapades when I was 22, and there were plenty, and they were really stupid, and a lot of the stories I have about myself are secondhand because I don't remember them. I look back on them like with shame, right? I look back on them with a little bit of fear too. Like I'm afraid of ever being like that drunk again.
It's called learning.
It's called learning, right? So it sounds like he had his fun.
Yeah.
It's time to knock it off. This doesn't mean he can never have a drink again in his life.
No.
Go out on the town with your friends, but he overdid it.
Yeah.
Now, the initial story, people are like, oh, he got in a bar fight. Now, thank goodness he didn't put his hands on anybody. But, trying to get into a car, the pants thing, it was a really stupid decision he made while drunk. A really stupid decision he made while sober was not to tell anybody. And his agent, who should absolutely know better. Are you actually out of your mind trying to keep this from the Toronto Maple Leafs? Did you think no one would ever find out? And what if it sounded like they were days away from naming him captain?
Mm-hmm. What if they had?
What if it comes out that day? And the C's already on the sweater?
I can almost guarantee you it would have.
Can you imagine?
I can almost guarantee you it would have come out. If it hadn't come out through that Montreal tip-off on Twitter, I can almost guarantee you that story comes out that night.
Thank goodness the Leafs played the Habs before the Red Wings.
Yeah.
Out of principle, you have to suspend him, right?
I think so.
Just because if you...
the Leafs or the Leafs?
Yeah, if the Leaf, it comes out the same day you name as captain. That's just so embarrassing.
Oh, that day.
Yeah.
In that scenario.
I'm actually surprised that they haven't... I guess it's because it's before the courts and they don't want to say...
Right.
But I am really surprised that they haven't said, you know what? Because the Leafs are socially and want to be socially very forward and want to send a message. I am surprised at how little we've heard, and I think it's because it's before the courts, but I wouldn't be shocked if he sat a game. I wouldn't be.
So I have a couple thoughts there. One, they may, because of the cap, literally not be able to afford that.
Right.
Even the one game, because we're talking, they really got a nickel and dime this year, so they might not be able to do that. The other thought, if I'm Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan and the Board of Governors, is, you know what? We're paying you $11.6 million, whatever it is, against the cap. He's actually making 15 in his first year. You were saying
it was 15.3 or something.
We're paying you over $15 million to play hockey this year. Get out there and friggin' play hockey.
Right. And don't you dare give me any other there's no talk back, there's no nothing this year.
Your lesson in this, because we'd suspend you if we could. We're not really in a position to do that. Also, you're our best player. Friggin' you get on the ice, you score some goals, and you shut up. You don't say anything before the game. You don't say anything after the game. You lay low for a little while because you done goofed. This is your penance. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that's hockey consequences. It pales in comparison to.
Right. And he's
got a quirk. I don't know how they thought that was never going to come out. I don't know how they thought that was the right move. That to me is wild. And here, I'll say this, or maybe we're getting off topic. You know what? I'll save it for we're going to have a Marner conversation later with the Rantanen and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to save it because it's distracting from he shouldn't have done it.
Right. And for anybody that defended the action itself, including Don Cherry in today's Toronto Sun, give your head a shake. If Steve did that, I'm not going to defend Steve. I'm going to support Steve and be like, wow, that was fucking stupid. Want to never do that again? We're still best friends.
Have you ever been a drunken moron?
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm ashamed of it. Dude, I one time, it was my first ever experience with a keg. And the dangerous thing about kegs that I learned very early on in my drinking experience is there's no receipt.
There's no pileup of bottles.
Right, or bottles or cans and I just drank my face off with no moderation, obviously. Mm-hmm. Didn't know, and I was 19. I'm like, I'm going to get messed up. And
you got energy for days, right, when you're 19.
Yeah, and my first memory the next day was at 1 p.m. That's how hungover I was. Or still drunk. And the story, I tried to fight my friend's dad.
What happened? Tell the story.
I tried to punch him, and I luckily missed, and he just put me to bed.
And the friend's dad was a police officer. Who was just trying to get you to bed.
It was, yep. And allegedly, I wasn't there. I don't remember. I don't remember any of it. And I know this guy. I see him all the time.
And you love him.
And I love him. And every moment I'm with him, no matter what we're talking about, I still want to go, by the way, okay, hey, can you pass the ketchup? Also, sorry about that time I tried to punch you. Like, it's been over a decade, and I'm still mortified by it. Right. And I should be.
Yeah.
And I should be, and it's served as a lesson for the rest of my life. Don't friggin' do that.
It's gotten far. It was. I mean, I have to be honest with you. I've always laughed at that story. I think it's funny, but because
it turned out funny.
It turned out funny. It turned out funny. It very much could not have.
I connect. It's not funny.
It's not funny. Yeah. Bingo. Well, maybe it is because I don't know how much power you would have had in that swing, to be honest with you.
I'm sure he would have.
Yeah, he would have turned you around real quick.
He'd
had swings at him before. I think he'd blocked it, but
I was at his mercy though.
Sure,
it's because he handled it like an adult, and I handled it like a friggin' irresponsible child that was not a child. I was a legal adult.
Exactly. The point here is,
I'm not proud of it. There's no defense of it. You know what I mean?
What was it for you though?
It was a learning experience.
Teachable moment.
Very teachable
So
moment.
there's no, and this is the...
You shouldn't have to read out of a textbook, don't get so drunk that you try to fight your friend's dad.
But
apparently that was a lesson that I needed to learn that way.
The distinction here is that, yes, it's a teachable moment, and on the scale of crimes you can commit, pretty low for Matthews. But
people keep saying that. Yeah.
The point here is that it's not defensible. That's the part that got me, is people going, well, boys will be boys, or, well, you've never been stupid, or whatever. Don't defend it. You don't need to defend it. Yeah. It was dumb. They're going to have to sort it out in the courts. He's going to have to feel like shit about it for a while. And there will probably be consequences for this. And we'll see what those are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's it. That's the story.
And, we're three guys sitting in a room, and a lot of stuff after the fallout on Twitter was a lot of women sharing their stories about dudes being 6'2", being next to them in the middle of the night, and them carrying keys in their hand just for that potential danger that they face in everyday life. And from that perspective, it's gut wrenching.
Well, yes. And I'll be honest, my first thought was, because the hook of the story for me the first time I heard it was, he pulled down his pants and did the old Ace Ventura hello, and I was just like, oh, what a goof, like what a moron. And it did admittedly take me a moment to look at it from that perspective.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of guys who are asking questions in this saga, whatever you want to call it, without bothering to try to answer it themselves.
Well, that's why I didn't tweet. That's why I didn't tweet about it. That's why I held back. Because I wanted to, for me, it was just my personal choice, but I felt like everybody else was throwing their opinions out there, and I was like, what's one more? Who cares?
Yeah. And I didn't want a repeat of what happened with the Morgan Riley stuff last year.
Sure, where everybody canceled Morgan Riley, and then it came out. That's the thing. That's why you want to wait a little bit just to see. But Jesse makes the most important point. That is probably one of the scariest situations that person has ever been in, and we're talking about a military vet.
Yeah. Or just, it's a scary one.
And needlessly so.
Yeah.
Pointless, needless, stupid.
And, your security, it's a dangerous job and everything.
It shouldn't be at a high-end fucking condo, though.
Well, no. That should be... I mean, ideally, you don't need any security ever, and you don't need any police ever. Mm-hmm. I guess you're there for the dangerous moments.
Right.
But it was, if you're the perpetrator of the dangerous moment, there are consequences for it.
Yeah.
Now, there was another perspective. Did you have something to say?
I was just gonna say, when you just keep compounding the things that happen in the story, and it just keeps getting worse. You tell the initial story of, okay, it's him drunkenly at night. Then it's him knocking on the window of a woman's car at night. Then it's him mooning her. And then it's the dad coming in. And then it's the hiding it from the GM. Yeah. And it's just every single part of the story is another thing that just makes it even worse. And it's just so disappointing.
Well, and there's no, this is so many layers down in terms of relevance in the story, but if he comes out and admits it and tells the Leafs and everything, they can just go, "Crip, here's what happened."
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But
and then there's one less terrible layer.
It was 3 or 4 days where we were learning new detail, and I'm just like, oh my god, and this is. I wanted to scream enough, but obviously the situation is what it is. But it was.
Evidently,
he couldn't have handled it worse.
It was such a slow burn of bad news.
Yeah. Couldn't have handled it worse.
Yeah. That could have been handled like you said, and evidently the agent is still indignant that that was the right course of action. Which to me, I'm like, I'm going to fire my agent.
Right.
Are you kidding me? That's terrible advice.
Now, another perspective, and it's a relevant one. So this is Michelle Storino. She covers hockey, and I don't know what else her background is because she's got a PI license. So she tweeted this: I'm a woman with a security background and a PI license. If she could not tell they were drunk, then her observation skills were lacking. If she truly felt in danger, why didn't she stay in her vehicle and lock the doors? Or better yet, drive away. She had options. So that's what she said. Yeah, she was
the point is she didn't even need the point that she would even have to consider that.
Right.
Is the point. She shouldn't have to do
The point
that.
is that she should have never been in that situation.
Yeah, and also once she got out of the car, you know, he didn't then, unless I'm completely getting the story wrong, he didn't then try to get in the car. He tried to get in the car when she was in the car.
And it was already
so
locked.
her
Right.
getting out of the car is, I don't know how relevant it
and
is.
it's
That's
not
so
about
besides
what
the
you
point.
do, it's not
Yeah.
about how she escapes the
Right.
situation. It's the fact that she had to escape it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can appreciate someone trying to offer, hey, I'm a
Sure.
woman and also I have some expertise in this field, but I just feel like
Yeah.
no matter what, it's a bad situation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what it is going forward. Because, you know, instantaneously people are like, well, I could never look at him the same again, and that's fine if that's your opinion, whatever. I look at this as, and Ashley Docking from the fan, when I worked with her, we were talking about far more serious situations from the NFL at that particular moment. But I said, what would it take for you to have a player who came back from X crime or whatever it was that was really stupid, for you as a woman to say, because it had specifically to do with that. I said, for you to say, okay, you know what? I believe that this guy genuinely has made a turnaround in his life. And she said, receipts. I want to see receipts. I want to see him
Growth.
give back.
Yeah.
No, not just growth. Not just that it doesn't happen again, because that's the bare minimum.
Right.
It's, are you volunteering? Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you gone to, like, and I'm not saying that Matthews needs, like, counseling or whatever, but, dude, go out and do something good now.
Yeah. Well,
And continue to do something good. You've done something stupid.
And he does. He does. The people at Sick Kids go out of their way every time I see them to be like, Matthews is in here all the time.
Sure.
This isn't about him being a good or bad person. It's he did a bad thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes good people do bad things.
And we'll have to make up for it.
And sometimes, I don't know, maybe people are good in some ways and a pain in the ass to their condo in others.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not, there's nuance, man.
Yeah.
Like not everything is so black and white. I'm confident enough in this guy that he'll learn from it, he'll grow from it, he'll have receipts.
This is never happening again.
It can't.
I cannot, I would not, I would be shocked. I really would. I think this is, he learns from this.
You bet he's going to learn from it. But that's later. Now,
Deal with it now.
he's got to deal with it.
Right. And
He's got to eat some guff.
and for everybody that's like, well, maybe he could still be captain. He's not going to be captain, guys. He's not. And the
Absolutely
Leafs are
not.
going to change the narrative. They're going to be like, well, he wasn't really going to be captain anyway. He was going to be captain, from what we know.
I think so.
And it's
I
going to be
think so.
Tavares or Riley now. Either are great choices. And you know what's good about this? Clearly, he's not ready. So now we know.
He's super not ready.
He's not
Yeah.
ready.
And
you know,
he's going to go out there. Dude, he could win a Rocket Richard trophy this year.
Sure.
But in terms of the captaincy, which means something outside of hockey, now's not the time.
And at a certain point, Jerome McGinley was passed over for the captaincy, and he went to the management. And Jerome McGinley, who never did anything wrong ever, was like, "When am I going to get this?" And like, "Don't worry, Jerome, you will." And he will. Auston Matthews will be captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs eventually.
It's up to him.
Of that, I'm sure.
It's up to him.
See, I believe in it. I think you will.
He's a good enough player. And
I think he's a good
100%
enough
up to
person.
him.
And I think that you do something stupid. And let's. So I think a month from now, people are like, you know what? Really fucking stupid. Wish it hadn't happened. And I think he probably feels the same way. But you're going, okay. But we know Auston to be this one thing 99.9% of the time. We can at least think, well, I believe the 99.9% of the time. Mm-hmm. And we'll see if this happens again. If it becomes a pattern, then it's a problem.
This could be, and this is obviously not the first priority of the situation, but this could be a really transformative moment for Kyle Dubas, I think.
Why do you say that?
We've seen him frustrated before, and we've seen him like throw like passive aggressive digital shade, with
Liking certain things.
yeah,
Like Nick Robertson to forward.
that's his most recent one. That's hilarious. He looked furious. He looked really,
As he should be.
Really, be.
Him saying, I found out on Twitter like everyone else.
And good for him for telling everybody that and being honest about it.
And by the way, I believe him when he says that.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people are like, how could the Leafs not have known? I'm sorry. You think Auston Matthews' parents, and Auston Matthews' representation are going to let the Leafs tell everyone that they found out that way when it's not true?
Mm-hmm.
It makes him look terrible.
Yeah.
It makes him look terrible. If it's not true, why would they allow them to say that?
But that was a Dubas going, this is your bed, now you're going to lay in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Dubas didn't run as tight of a ship as Lou Lamoriello. Lou Lamoriello had this sort of hand of God fear about him. He might have just screwed it up for everybody. I think playtime's over. This team has thoroughly lost its baby fat.
It's not cute anymore.
It's not cute anymore.
It was cute against Washington. It stopped being cute last season.
Yeah, Nylander to a lot of people, although that's completely different. Marner to a lot of people, although that's completely different.
And now
Matthews. And that's the tip of the iceberg. It's lost its baby fat, and this is what I was going to say earlier. And I'm shoehorning it into this conversation, but like so there's the Mikko Rantanen signing.
Yep.
Right.
So you've got Rantanen, Laine, and Connor all signing. So Laine got a 2-year deal, 6.25 or 6.75.
7.5, but it's 2 years.
Kyle Connor has a 7-year contract, $50 million. Mikko Rantanen 6-year, $55.5 million.
Yeah. So Rantanen, I couldn't find a good reason why he should make less than Marner.
There isn't.
There isn't. And people were showing me like tax stuff and whatever. Until that's factored into the cap, I don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. Until it's factored into the cap, which it never will be, I don't care. One deal is more than the other. So the hot rumor, so Mitch just sat and he sat and he sat. And I have reason to believe he consulted with William Nylander, who's his teammate, right?
Yeah.
So of course he did. How do I get the most out of this? And I've always said the whole summer how embarrassing it is that the rest of the league was waiting on Mitch Marner's contract because they thought he was going to get overpaid the most. That's the truth. They thought he was going to get overpaid the most, and he was going to be everyone else's meal ticket. Mm-hmm. And that all falls on Kyle Dubas. Kyle Dubas is going to overpay him the most. So there's disrespect in that regard. There's disrespect. Like, it's not just foolish. It's disrespect to not tell the general manager of your hockey team that you've been charged with something. Like, that. There's always Lou and Dubas comparisons that I think are unfair. I think it's perfectly legitimate to say Lou would have known. Mm-hmm. Lou would have known. And I think...
we don't know that.
No, of course not. It's a fantasy scenario.
I have a hard time believing Lou gets sandbagged by that. I just do.
There was a fear. There was a fear of
from
his
that
authority.
perspective.
Yeah, there was a fear of hiding things
If
from
you talk
him.
Not
anything-
in terms of he had phones bugged and he could find out anything.
no.
And if
It
something
was-
happens to Matthews, he knows.
It would have been, oh, fuck, what happens if we don't tell him?
Right.
Right.
Not from I could probably keep this from him.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
And so Dubas has been disrespected in contract talks. He's been disrespected in this regard, however you want to word it. And I think he's done playing games. I think Dubas is done playing games, and people are going to feel a little bit of wrath. Like, people are, what does he do something as petty as, okay, you all have to shave again? You know what I mean?
I don't think
like,
so.
I don't know if it's that, but best believe something about his career as a general manager in this league is about to change or has changed. Mm-hmm. I think partly because of this incident.
And you know what? If he's any good, we'll never know.
Right. Now,
We will
again,
not see it.
That is some people are going to go, how are you talking about that? No, dude, it's layered, for God's sake. There's several things to all of this, but that one hasn't been talked about, and I think it's fascinating.
When you talk about the Line Connor, Rantanen, I think the Rantanen's the best comparison because they're similar players. Continue. Sorry, I wasn't
just
sure.
One last thing.
Please.
Guys, when women offer their perspective on something, listen to them because you don't have that perspective. Shut up for a second.
Yeah,
shut up for a second. And just fucking
up.
listen.
I don't get that.
Yeah. If at the end of it you go, whatever. Fine, but at least fucking listen for a second. For 1 millisecond, that's all you got to do.
I hate to tell people
that was the last thing I wanted to say about it.
It's possible that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
Possible.
Yeah.
You know what? I would even go as far as to say likely. You have not experienced everything. You have not read every book. You've not been in every situation. Listen.
Yeah.
Now, with the actual dollars that Rantanen paid versus what Marner got paid, obviously, it's $2 million more, basic $2.5 million more that Marner's making than
1.5.
What's that?
1.5.
Well, 1.5. Sorry, with Rantanen.
Yeah.
But it might be 2.5 more than what he should have made.
Right. Oh, is this from Ian Tulloch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could sting them.
And I mean, watching him this preseason, I'm definitely not watching him going, oh, that overpaid bum. He's
been
still
great.
disgusting.
Yeah.
He's still really good, but that's besides the point. Mikko Rantanen is also going to be disgusting for less money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you can't sit there and say Mitch Marner's making market value because he's not.
He's
making above it.
Yep.
I would say Nylander, based on how he'll perform this year, just a guess, is making well below market value, though.
Insanely below market
what you
value.
saved, what I believe what William Nylander will give you this year is you could say Matthews is a little overvalued, but even then I'm like, man, he's pretty freaking good.
Dude, he had the most 5-on-5 goals in the entire NHL behind Connor McDavid, and he scored them at a higher rate because he was injured.
Mm-hmm.
That's a superstar.
Yes.
That's a superstar.
So
one 90-point year is not a superstar. It's a superstar in the making, potentially. But Rantanen had back-to-back 80-plus seasons.
87 or something. It was crazy.
Marner's topped 70 points once, and he has not topped 30 goals. I think he's going to be a disgusting player. I'm so stoked that he's on my team. But 10.893. Holy shit.
I think, though, when you look at it, what you saved on Nylander, you paid extra on Marner.
That I have
the combo of the two of them
way.
Together, to me, is about what you should be paying for
Hopefully
those two
it's
players.
a wash. Yeah hopefully you take
is.
$1 million from there, you add it to there. It's kind of evens out.
That's my thinking. Is that okay? So you I know $2 million or $1 million would have really helped them in this cap crunch that they're in. But what does $1 million really get you in the NHL?
Well, in that rumor, Kevin LeBanc apparently, but that rumor
or Pat Maroon
the rumor that Marner would have taken 8 times 9, but this was before he had the 94 point
You would have
season.
said Kyle Dubas is insane, and Nylander would have been like, well, what the fuck? I deserve that.
Yeah, so there's $18 million between the two, which is roughly what they're getting combined now. So it's all about how you look at it, I guess.
Yeah. That's how I choose to look at it, and I think that's how the Leafs have to look at it because there's, they are paying Nylander under $6.9 million is a lot less than what a guy who's I think going to get 70 points this year would be making. If Kevin Hayes is making $7 million, William Nylander for sure is a good deal. Now, moving on to because I think we're what I'm really sick of, and I said this last episode, so sick of every RFA being compared to Mitch Marner, but I think it's going to happen for the next 3 years. I just don't think it's going to stop. Now, with all of this,
I mean, it was Leon Draisaitl, and then he scored 50 goals. So
yes,
and then now he's being underpaid.
Yes,
yeah.
With all of this happening, we did talk about how good the Leafs really could be.
They look really good.
They do look really good.
Really good.
Do they look good enough to you guys to win the Atlantic?
They do.
Do you think that they can beat Tampa? Because if they do. There's an argument to be made. If you win the Atlantic, you win the President's Trophy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Man. It's a really good division.
Yeah,
it's a really good division.
Like Boston could win it too, right? Like it's sort of.
If I'm not mistaken, what was it? Colorado made the playoffs with 90 points.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say Montreal. Yeah.
Montreal missed it with 98, didn't they?
96. man, like, it's a really strong division. Buffalo got better. Florida got better. Boston's Boston. Just sort of in a holding pattern of
Being great.
being annoying. Get the hell out of here. It's a really, really, really strong division, and the Leafs might be the best.
Can I loop in everything we just talked about with the on-ice performance?
Sure.
Okay.
What if these two back-to-back terrible PR stories, Mitch Marner all off-season, then Matthews dropping, then this whole captaincy, who knows what's going to go on with that? What if that affects the on-ice performance?
Do you think it
Because
will?
we don't assume that these guys are just going to play in a vacuum. Like
Right.
they're hearing everything, and it's preseason is just preseason. Like I said, Edmonton went 6-1 last year, didn't make the playoffs. I think they might get off to a slow start, and then ramp it up to what they actually are, which might be President's Trophy's winner. But like I wouldn't fault them if they got off to a slow start just because the summer has probably been so heavy on them,
I wonder
especially
if
the
hockey's
last
their
2
escape,
weeks.
though. Like, I wonder
By
if this
their own
focuses
doing.
you up.
By their own doing. What?
Right.
To that point,
You
Yeah.
think it focuses them up?
yeah.
I actually think that's what's going on.
You think they all band together and they get
Well, I think it's like, fuck, I don't want to focus on what's going on in my personal life right now because that kind of sucks.
Spend
Right.
every waking moment on the ice. I think Jeff O'Neill nailed it on the broadcast. It was the day the news broke, and Matthews was, or the day after, and Matthews was playing, and he scores that goal, and he just sort of goes, "Yep, thanks, dap, gets off the ice." Like, business. It's all business. No fun and games. Stay off Instagram for a while. You know, hey, I'm in Patrick Marleau's car. Like,
yeah.
you know what? And there's nothing wrong with having a personality, but it is shut up and lay low time. It's
All of them.
It's focus on hockey time. I loved what did Kyle Lowry in the NBA final said. Every time they went on the road, he said it's a business trip.
Wow.
That's what it is. It's a business trip.
And if they have what it takes to win, then that's the perspective they're going to come from, and this will be their learning moment where they ratchet down. What is the phrase? You ratchet down the hatchets.
Batten down the hatches.
Batten down the hatchets. And I like mine better. You ratchet down the hatchets, and you
Do that too.
and then you.
Batten down the hatches. Yeah. It's a Navy term. Batten down the
Well,
hatches.
mine's an Army term.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll make them play better. So, yeah, hopefully that's what results from all
Yeah.
of this. Yeah.
If they stumble out of the gate, I think it'll be because they play 4 games in 6 days.
Yeah.
Is that really the starting
Yeah.
schedule?
4 games in 6 days
Oh, wow.
against some really good teams. The Blues are like game 3 or 4.
Tampa's, I think, game 5. or
Tampa's in there. I want to say it's Blues Tampa back to back.
Yeah.
So you got the Stanley Cup winners and the President's Trophy winners. And I want to say they have 3 or 4 back to backs in October.
It's a lot.
It's a trash first month schedule. They come out of that a few games over 500. It's not bad. It's pretty good, man. It's a pretty good sign of where you are.
One thing I was looking at yesterday is that I think the Leafs lost 3 or 4 against Ottawa last year. The Leafs finished, by the way, they kick off the season against Ottawa on Wednesday.
And probably played their worst game of the entire season against Ottawa. That last road game, I didn't watch the third. I had to go watch the dogs or walk the dogs. I don't think I've ever been that mad watching a Leafs game.
Really?
They were. Oh, we had friends over, and I was like embarrassing. I was embarrassing.
So-
I walked. We had company over, and I left the house.
So
I was so friggin' mad.
the Leafs had 100 points last year.
Yeah.
Boston had 107 points.
Mm-hmm.
They win those 3 games, each of which they should have won. And by the way, people told me to calm down. When they lost that first game to Ottawa, I think it was the second game of the season, first night hockey night in Canada, I said, this will sting. This will come back. This is the shit that matters at the end of the season. People are like, you need to calm down. That's crazy. What are you talking about? One thing I really need to see the Leafs do this year is clean it up against shitty teams. And that's not to say Ottawa's not on the upswing or whatever. The Leafs should beat Ottawa every fucking time. The Leafs should beat Detroit every fucking time.
They should be Columbus.
Yeah, they should beat
They
Columbus.
always have a tough time against Columbus.
Yeah,
Which is-
Columbus
And
is a
there's
different
no
team,
excuse
though.
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
No
time,
excuse.
Yeah,
they're
there's no
different.
Bobrovsky in that to rob things. Like
Right.
it's different.
Can you look up who their goalies are again?
but
I still don't know.
The point is that took them from 7 points behind the Bruins to 1 point behind the Bruins. That shit matters.
Dude,
So-
Detroit.
Yeah. Well, I was
Detroit. Every game was they were down 4-1 and made this crazy comeback, lost in overtime. They
Yep.
had another one. They were down 3-1. How are you down?
Yep.
You shouldn't even be down.
Should never have been down in the first place. And so what's interesting is, though, so I was reading a Jonas Siegel piece today, and he said essentially that the Leafs and Tampa were right on par with each other, scored the same amount of goals 5-on-5. The difference last year was power play and penalty kill. Tampa was number one in both because Tampa had an insane regular season. The Leafs were 8th in power play, which, when you look at the talent on their top unit, was completely unacceptable. That is not
100%.
good enough.
100%.
But on the penalty kill, it's even worse. 17th. 17th. Now, I'll tell you, watching the Leafs defense again, it's been preseason, I get it. But what a fucking difference it is not to have Ron Hainsey on the top pairing and then Nikita Zaitsev on the next right. Like, what a difference Tyson Barrie. And Tyson Barrie didn't have a great game yesterday. He was just kind of there.
He's been all right.
What a difference, though. He can make a pass. Yeah. Nikita Zaitsev he was literally throwing like 100-mile-an-hour fastballs up the ice.
You could have given him a shovel.
And that's the difference. It's those little things that those guys don't even have to be great. Cody Ceci doesn't have to be great, and I don't know if he's capable of being great. I don't know.
No.
He has to be good.
He's got to be just better than that.
Have you seen the bingo
Average.
card?
Oh, yeah, the Manny Elk one? The one where it's like, is Cody Ceci actually good? And then it's like, who said it?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's good. We'll see. I wonder if they move on from him part way through the season, too. Like, I wonder if they find a trading partner when Dermott comes back.
Is Cody Ceci better than Ron Hainsey? Count? is Cody Ceci actually adequate?
Is he better than Zaitsev? That's all I care about.
Yeah. Is Cody Ceci better than the incredibly low bar he has to jump over?
Yes. Yes.
And
guess what happens to most okay players around really good players? Tend to get better.
Yeah. I mean, you're playing with Morgan Riley.
If
it doesn't work here, it might not work out anywhere.
20 goals, 70-point Morgan Riley.
72.
That's right.
Wild.
What are you looking up, Jesse?
I was just looking for the Manny Elk chart.
Yeah, it's very funny. You're on it, by the way.
To pull it. Yeah, I saw it earlier, but I don't have the tweet in front of me.
Yeah,
it's
very
go to
funny.
his Twitter and search through media. The biggest flaw in the bingo card is we're all in the same row.
Oh, that's not fair.
Come on.
Come on, Manny.
Come on.
Here's a fun fact. I think Detroit's going to be a really fun story to watch this year because, remember, Steve Yzerman's there now. And they're no longer the fumbling, we don't know what we're doing, we're going to sign Mike Green again, Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah.
They're now we have purpose and intention to every move we make, Detroit Red Wings. I think Detroit's going to suck this year. However,
they're going to be pretty bad.
Yeah.
But they're going to suck with purpose. And that's what the Leafs did. When you suck on purpose, then you see gains.
Yeah.
And there's going to be pain, to quote Mike Babcock.
Protect the young players.
So Zadina's down. Svechnikov's down. The Red Wings have one first-round pick from the last 5 drafts on their roster right now.
Larkin? No. Last 5?
Last 5. Rasmussen's down. Not Mantha. No.
Who is it?
Hang on, I'm just bringing it up right now. Hang on. Dennis Cholowski.
He was a first-round pick?
The only first-round pick in the past 5 drafts still on the roster. I hope I spelled it or said it.
Still on the roster?
Still on the current roster. Doesn't mean that the rest of the guys have been put down in Grand Rapids.
Who,
by the way,
okay.
I think are going to win, are going to be challenging for that the
Joe
championship.
Veleno didn't make the team? So they're going full pain.
That's on purpose. They're going full pain.
Oh, shoot.
Loaded
this is
draft
like
this year.
Nylander.
Yeah.
We had that conversation last show. Nylander was like a top 5 talented player in the organization.
He was their number 1 center.
And he was on the Marlies.
Yeah.
Ooh, Red Wings. Well, you know what? You can only go up.
Yeah, well, and they've got a loaded draft this year.
Yeah. It is Merrick, every time I see him, raves about this draft.
Yeah.
Raves
This
about
upcoming one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
they'll
gonna be a really good
first-round pick for it.
Yeah.
Unless it's top 10.
Unless it's top 10.
Yeah, it's top.
Oh, right,
it's top
it's protected.
10 or 5 protected. So
Yeah.
if it's the best pick, the Leafs got to pick it.
Yeah, but we don't want them to
But
suck
don't want
that
them-
bad,
it's not.
So.
Let's please not suck. So it'll be interesting. Grand Rapids will be fun to watch this year because I think they're going to be loaded with talent.
Pontus Aberg for a first. Who says no?
Well,
No. Yeah.
I wonder if they can't I mentioned Cody Ceci before, but if he looks good, right-handed shot defensemen are hard to come by in the NHL.
No.
You don't think that they can't trade him? Not for a first. I'm not saying for a first.
I'm saying not at all.
You don't think that they can recoup assets on him? Maybe.
You know what? For me,
Because if Dermott comes back,
yeah.
Where does he slot in?
Exactly. And why wouldn't you put Dermott and Riley together or Marincin or like whatever it is? I don't care what the combo is. Dermott's got to play. So does Sandin.
It has to. Any trade has to make the team better on ice this year. The future is great, and you should plan for the future. But like I was thinking about Rasmus Sandin and like, well, if you send him down, like his contract could slide or whatever. No, he's sick. He belongs. Ice the best possible team.
Yeah.
Go out there and win a cup.
It ain't about tomorrow. It's about now.
Yeah, it can be about both, but now takes priority.
Right now, the third pairing is Sandin Marincin, right?
Yes.
That's what we're going
That's
with.
what we're.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
Babs didn't specifically say that.
Yeah.
He said, "Well, we got 4 guys, meaning the top 4 guys, and we got Sandin, and then we're going to figure the rest of it out." Which you'd have to say is Marincin. Like it's not going to be Harper. It's not going to be Schmaltz. It's not going to be
Hall.
or Hall.
They
no.
haven't played together once, I don't think.
No, it's not going to be Hall.
No. And he's the only
Hall
righty
they should
still
have
in
played
camp.
last year. They could have used them. This year, I don't think they need him.
And what's Dermott's timeline looking like?
Mid-November?
Yeah, both him and Hyman are mid-November.
Okay.
I think one might come back before the other, but yeah.
It'll be fascinating, too, what happens then, because you have to think Korshkov maybe makes the team, but I think he can go down without waivers.
Yes, so that's why I don't think he will.
Well, I think he'll make
because
the team
they
now.
can't carry spares, right?
Yeah, but what I mean is he makes the team now, and then Hyman comes back and he pops down again. Don't they need somebody?
No, because their fourth line could be, it could be Spezza Goat, and I'm trying to think of who's slotting in there.
Sure.
It could be Shore, could be
Kenny Agostino.
I'm trying to think of who was in that slot.
Patan, yeah.
Patan. There was someone else. I'm trying to remember. There's so many guys.
Trevor Moore, probably third line.
No, Trevor Moore's third. Yeah, I'm trying to remember who it was.
Mikhaev's third.
It's wild to me how good they've looked, and when Hyman comes back, one like a guy like Mikheyev or Moore could be on like the fourth line.
Mm-hmm.
They're so good. They're so good up front. And again, like I keep saying, the top 9 is locked up for at least the next 2 years. Yeah, I know what their problems are, but that's pretty freaking good.
By the way, the cap crunch gets a little bit easier next year. I'm just looking at what the Leafs have projected right now. They got about $14 million next year to play with. And the only position of real need for them is going to be defense. Because they got CeCe, Muzzin, Barry, Marincin, and Hall coming off the books. They'll have Sandin. Obviously, you hope Liljegren's going to be ready for the big show.
Riley.
Yeah.
So there's
Dermott.
2/3 of the left side.
Dermott's got to be re-signed.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying, because everyone's like, oh, Riley's the only guy. Well, if once Sandin makes the team, he's automatically guy 2.
Right.
Who's locked up.
Well, and that their entire left side is probably ready to go. It's Riley, Dermott, Sandin. And then they got to figure out, maybe they re-sign one of Muzzin or Barry. I would imagine that
That's
they'd want
tomorrow.
Yeah, it's tomorrow's problem.
tomorrow.
But they've got the money to do it. So I don't know if the cap crunch is as bad after this season as people are making it
I've seen
seem.
people talking about like, oh yeah, they're going to lose Anderson, they're going to lose Riley. What?
What?
Man,
They got.
enjoy what's in front of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this is the year to enjoy what's in front of you.
Eat your meal. Stop setting the table. Eat your dinner.
Yeah.
That's why my therapist said that to me actually. He said your biggest problem is this is what he said to me recently. He said your biggest problem is you continue to set the table but you never actually eat. And he said you need to eat. You need to sit still for 1 second and just enjoy what you've created. And I was like, whoa, damn.
If you pay close enough attention to the show, you'll get like after a few months you'll get like one full therapist session.
Maybe. Just third hand therapy, which is always really healthy.
It's super
super good. Yeah, no.
and sometimes gets published also. But,
Someone
yeah.
who I watched at the Nagano Olympics is now the only female pro scout in the NHL, Cami Granato,
That's right.
with Seattle.
That is right.
Adam was at the Nagano Olympics,
I was
actually.
there.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He covered it.
I had my Theo Fleury 74 jersey. I still have it.
You wore 74?
74 randomly. I think it was who had 14? Shanny? I don't know.
Could
Anyway.
have been Shanahan.
Really, really interesting what Seattle's doing. I'm kind of excited. They announced their first, 5 scouts, and they have been other scouts in the past, but we're starting to see this boys club thing break up a little bit.
Well, the Leafs have
Wickenheiser on staff.
no, it's Wicken. Noel. Oh my goodness, I forgot her name. She's an amateur scout, but Cameron Granato's
And she
the
came
first
from Twitter,
pro.
right? We talked about her last year. It was like, who is this person?
She's based out of North Dakota. Noel, for the love of God.
Yeah.
I forget.
I remember talking about it. Yeah.
was the first pro scout.
Pretty neat.
Noel Needham.
That's right.
Neil.
Needham.
Yes.
Yes. I knew it was Noel.
Anyway, congratulations to her. I'm really excited because do we not have an expansion draft after this year?
Yeah,
We do.
How come no one's talking about that? Who's protecting who? Do we even know what the protection rules are yet? Has the NHL said that yet? Because I could swear to you, we knew with Vegas by now.
Also,
We knew.
Yeah. But remember there was that option you could protect a bunch of forwards, but you leave your defense super vulnerable. The Leafs have they only have one defender they need to protect.
Morgan Riley.
That's it.
Dermott might be because he's going on his second contract.
I think he'll be good.
I don't think he'll meet the games played criteria. Yeah,
I think he'll be
See,
good.
I'd have to look at the rules
Yeah,
again.
I'd have to look.
So you're
it up,
basically
too.
protecting...
Just protect all the forwards.
Yeah.
And hopefully you don't lose one. And if you do, well, you have
Cap relief.
14,000 others. You might get some cap relief out of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Really, really interesting. So I'm shocked that nobody's done an article on that yet, but I'm pretty excited.
We still don't even know what they're called.
No, we don't.
They have a bunch of people working for them, and what do they call themselves? Hooray!
A couple of years ago, I vaguely remember Adam Wilde coming up with a great name for them, which I won't repeat on this podcast. But
I was saying that's not the thing you should do. I was saying that's not the thing you should do. It's the point I was trying to make at the time. Anyway. The not thing you should do. Of course, it's become a meme. Penguins are reportedly right now very close to trading Jack Johnson, which I think is such a shame. The Penguins are $400,000 over the cap right now.
There's a few teams that are
over the cap.
Yeah.
And you can be, except you get penalized for it next year. So you don't want to be over the cap. The Leafs have been over the cap before. It's happened.
They're currently spending $94 million.
Yeah, but the LTIR.
yeah, because you can go over the cap in retrospect.
Yes.
Like your bonuses or your LTIR, they can default you to over the cap previously in the past.
But I
which
don't
is
believe
weird.
these guys are over the cap in that way. I
Okay.
think they're just over.
Just straight up over.
Yes.
Okay.
And so that's sort of the issue. And Jack Johnson's contract, which is surprising that they ever traded for him, that they ever signed him, that it ever became a thing, and why it had to be 5 years, $3.25 million, and after 1 year he's going to be traded. Now it's because the depth of what the Penguins have coming up is better than they thought it would be, but he slid to
Good for
seventh.
them.
He split to seventh on their depth chart. And Jim Rutherford, after the end of last year, was like, I don't know why everybody hates on Jack Johnson so much. It was like he was hated. No, Jim, we knew that you were making a bad deal at the time. Now, He doubled down on that and acquired Eric Goodbranson. And I'm just so upset that we don't get to see that pairing together. I wanted 82 games of Goodbranson and Jack Johnson, and then Sidney Crosby on the same team.
And Sidney Crosby's day-to-day right now, by the way. Took a puck off the
Yeah,
skate.
that didn't look good.
Penguins fans, I seem to remember being like, Branson's actually not that bad. Jack Johnson, dude,
never good.
I've said this story before. Jack Johnson was my introduction to analytics. He was the first guy, and I want to say it was Dello, I'm not sure, who they were like, by the way, here's the numbers that we're fiddling with, and they all say Jack Johnson's not good. And this was like a decade ago.
And what was he, a fourth pick overall?
I want to say he was picked third overall.
Because there was a lot of hype around him.
It was either Kings or Hurricanes.
Third overall by the Carolina Hurricanes in 2005. I'm looking at the Penguins cap friendly here, and all of their defensemen who make over $1 million are aged 27 to 32. It's Goodbranson, Dumoulin, Schultz, Letang, Johnson.
Like Schultz is worth
crazy.
it. Letang's worth it.
Yeah, but even Letang's like one of those hard miles guys.
Oh yeah, he's had a lot of injuries.
Really
but when that
hard.
deal was signed
Dude, he had
eons
a
ago, it was
stroke.
worth it. Yeah, like
poor
guy.
It's wild, man. These are
deals, like the Goodbranson and the Johnson deals, that's $7.25 million that for replacement level NHL players. You could have got guy 1 and guy 2 and got the same results.
Who signed those deals?
Rutherford.
That was him? All of them?
And he's the guy that
Goodbranson was a trade.
Yeah.
And
so
then
that was a
yeah.
Jim Benning contract.
Right.
But I can't remember who he was traded for. Like Tanner Pearson?
Tanner Pearson.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Like, why?
Man.
And that's the thing is that, like, Jim Rutherford, he gave him shit, and then they went and won 2 cups in a row.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it seems again like you're like, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing, man?
And here's what's so frustrating, though, for the rest of the league, in particular the Metro. What if Jim Rutherford nails it?
What,
What
Eric
if he
Branson
nails
was
it
the
and the
Norris?
Penguins just go right back to being great?
They're the sleeper pick to miss the playoffs here.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well,
If you're betting on a good team who
need-
made the playoffs to miss it, it's them.
They need Bukestad and Galch to have good seasons. Because Galch was the guy that came over the Kessel deal. He's got a
Yes.
year left. And he's
they
making
lost
almost $5 million bucks a
Kessel.
year. It was
Kessel's coming off like, didn't he get like 90 plus the year before and
Yeah.
80 plus last year?
How are you going to replace that?
That's so many points. Oh my God. And like that whole division is ripe for the taking.
Yeah, if you look
yeah.
at the teams in the Metro who made the playoffs last year, it's Washington, New York, Islanders, Pittsburgh, Carolina, Columbus. So you think the Columbus slot is right for the taking.
Yeah.
I can't see how they make it.
You look at New Jersey, who adds PK,
They added quite a bit.
Wayne
Gusev,
Simmons.
Wayne Simmons.
Yeah, Taylor Hall is probably going to have
Jack Hughes looks so good.
Jack Hughes looks
scary.
incredible.
Yeah.
Scary.
So you think they're going to take one of the slots,
Taylor
and then
Hall in a generational wealth contract. Year.
and then you look at how good the Atlantic is. You assume that one or both of the wild cards are going to come from there.
Well,
it's a fair bet.
and let's not forget what the Rangers have done.
Yeah.
The Rangers are a player again. I don't think people realize the Rangers
Rangers
are
are
going
a
to be probably
player.
pretty good.
Their play Kako looks really good.
I'm not sold on the Islanders, and I'm definitely not sold on the Pens. The one thing that's the X factor for both of them, and this is why I give the Pens on the edge over the Islanders, is goaltending. If Matt Murray shows up and is not injured, the Penguins are in the playoffs, no problem.
It can be a huge swing between the two because Murray didn't have that great of a year. Islanders, on the other hand, have to replace Leonard being a Vezina nominee and Thomas Greiss having the best
Season of his
hockey
life.
season of his entire life.
With Semyon Varlamov.
Varlamov.
Yeah, and that's who they're betting on, which is
31-year-old Semyon Varlamov. By the way, at the head of a 4-year contract that pays him $5 million bucks a year.
They are a likely groin tweak away from Thomas Greiss just being the full-time starter.
Mm-hmm.
And I say likely just because that guy always gets hurt. Varlamov.
Mm-hmm.
It's listen. I'm not dumping on the Islanders. They proved a lot of people wrong last
did.
year. Barzal, I don't think would have to try too hard to have a better season than he did last year.
But you have
Especially
to
in the
know,
back half.
there's a reason why Lou Lamoriello was like, sorry, Robin Lehner, we're going after Bobrovsky.
That was a really, really, really weird saga. I don't understand
Because I don't think
that.
Lou believes that was more than a 1-year thing. And
Right.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
And let's not forget the 927 that Greiss had in 43 games.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
Wild.
That's not
It's
too bad.
wild that he had. What was the season before?
It's
wild.
Page 892 in 27 games.
800. What's his career save percentage? Like average?
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay,
okay.
let's have a look at Semyon Varlamov in Colorado last year. 49 games played. 20 wins, 19 losses, 9 OT losses. So this guy was 20 and 28.
What's the percentage?
What do you mean?
Save percentage.
Save percentage is a 909.
Yeah, man. Like
And
maybe
the year before it was a 920. The year before that, 898. The year before that, 914.
who's it? Pierre Greco, the goalie coach that they got from the Marlies.
I don't know.
Trying to remember.
Yeah.
But maybe he's that much of a miracle worker.
I don't know at 31. I just don't know.
Buddy, I don't know. That's a tough one. That division is right for the taking. The Capitals are going to be really good. Carolina. So I have a video coming out on the Sportsnet channel where I was asked to predict the whole season. I know on July 1st I predicted that the Panthers would win the Cup, and my reasons are.
Did you do that?
I did. And my reasons were one, I think they're a really, really good team.
Mm-hmm.
Goaltending was a huge issue for them, and they replace it with Sergei freaking Bobrovsky.
Who has good years and bad.
Yes, that's very true. But assuming he has a good one, they're right there. The other was take your top 5 picks and throw them in the garbage because that's how the NHL works.
Yes, true.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I thought of, okay, who do I think are going to be Cup contenders? Okay, we got the Tampa Bay Lightning. All right, I'm throwing them away right away. We got Calgary Flames. They won the division last year. Okay, throw them away. The Sharks, the Golden Knights, throw them in the garbage. And I was like, okay, you know what, Florida. A lot has happened since then. I think the Carolina Hurricanes have a legitimate shot at winning the Stanley Cup this year.
That Joel Edmondson pickup wasn't bad, eh?
I don't think that trade was bad. I like what they've done all offseason. Everyone's like, oh, do you think they can do it with Mrazek and Reimer? They did it with friggin' Mrazek and McElhinney.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I think they can. Well, and Mrazek's never been a bad goalie. He was on a bad team. He's always been a pretty good goalie. He was inconsistent.
A little streaky. But Reimer had the worst season of his career.
Yep.
And I don't know if he's a 920 guy still, but he's not what he was last year.
Yeah.
Pretty confident in that. Pretty confident he can have a bounce back.
I want to look at this too. So you have, and this is where Carolina blew me away the last week. Justin Falk doesn't have the best, Carolina, I think if there was a trophy for trades made in the last 12 months, Carolina would win it.
Yeah, man.
So if Carolina is calling you, don't pick up.
Yeah.
Stop picking up the phone when Carolina calls.
If you hear Don Waddell's voice, you hear like a little in the background, it's Eric Tulsky. Hang up the phone.
Yes, don't pick it up. So what I don't understand about the Blues, Stanley Cup winning Blues.
Yes.
Why did they go out and trade for a right-handed guy when they have Parayko and Pietrangelo, and Pietrangelo is a UFA at the end of this season?
Are they worried he's not going to re-sign, or are they trying to use...
He wants to re-sign.
Are they trying to use Falk as leverage?
Or are they going to trade Parayko?
I have no idea.
It doesn't make sense. And here's the thing.
Parayko for CC, make it happen.
Of those three guys, that'd be great. Of the three guys I just mentioned, Pietrangelo, Parayko, Falk, who's the worst of them? The guy you just locked up to a massive 7-year deal. I don't understand that deal at all. I don't know what St. Louis was doing. It's not that he's a bad player. Objectively, he is the least good right-handed shot D on that team.
Can I do a slight aside about the worst thing about St. Louis? Adam, I mentioned this earlier. I think I mentioned it to you last week.
Okay.
But they revealed that they have nothing up in the dressing room, in the locker room, about their Stanley Cup win from this past season.
Why?
So there's because it's about this year. It's move forward, just keep your head down next day.
Dude, why not remind yourselves of what you've done and what it took to get there?
Is that not bullshit?
That's bullshit. Dude,
they're going to have the banner, obviously. They're going to have a cup, but there's nothing in the actual dressing room that's like,
that's
won
awful.
The freaking championship.
That's terrible.
It made me so upset.
Dude, they've waited, over half a century for this moment, and it finally came?
And now we're just going to ignore it. It didn't happen.
That's shit.
Well, let me bring this up. And I talked to Jesse, but when we talked about this earlier this week.
And the team's basically intact, too.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So,
what are you doing?
So when you read The Score Takes Care of Itself, which everybody I think at this point has read, like every hockey manager has read, and I think you should read it. It's very entertaining.
Nah.
Or just audiobook.
I don't like books.
Unless they're Harry Potter.
Or mine.
And what they talk about, the head coach, the San Francisco head coach who's referenced in it, talks about the fact that he got so hard on himself at a certain point that winning the championship became zero. Meaning that to break even, he had to win the championship. Everything else was underneath that. And he said it was the unhealthiest mindset he could have been in.
What's the point of winning?
Bingo.
What's the point?
The point of winning is to celebrate it, and they should celebrate it. And Jesse made it. Jesse's like, I hate hockey culture, and he's right. This is so stupid. Listen, do what you want, and everybody knows that it's about this season. Not putting that in the dressing room isn't going to change that you got to win some fucking games this year, and you're going to try to repeat. However, you did accomplish that. It should be celebrated. Get your head on straight. Are you crazy?
Yeah, if you really want, it doesn't have to be a picture of Alex Pietrangelo hoisting the cup and sparklers in the background. Why not? Maybe, I don't know, did someone take a puck or a stick to the teeth and they were bleeding and everything? Put that picture up. Anything, remind the team of what they did.
And what's
wrong with acknowledging that you won?
And what it takes to win.
Yes.
When you look at that picture, you go, Oh, yeah. That's the kind of sacrifice because sometimes everybody does this. When you're focused on a goal that's a long-term goal, you can fall a little off track and go, I'm a little lazy. I'm feeling a little lazy today. But you look at that picture of Pietrangelo holding the cup, you go, that's what we're in for.
When you do something, you know how to do it after you've done it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you need to remind yourself of what it takes to do it. And since you've done it, you know what it takes. So why don't you constantly remind yourself of what you did?
Yeah. Raptors are never going to win another championship. Okay, but they won, though.
They won.
Okay, but no, they won. They are the champions. Cry. Please cry. Cry, put it in a thermos.
Yep.
Put it in one of these little, nature-friendly Starbucks cups, metal container, and allow me to drink your tears. They won. Cry. And the Blues can say that this year. It's the greatest. It's the greatest thing ever. Cheering for a champion. I can't imagine what it's like to actually be one. Enjoy the thing. Enjoy the championship. I don't get it. Oh, hockey culture. You're right. It sucks.
Yeah. Stupid.
It really does.
Really
suck.
stupid. I'm sure we'll have somebody defending it in our mentions.
You know what they should do? You know what the Leafs should do?
What?
Take down all the pictures of their past Cup wins because they're so old, and they should just hang pictures of like Pietrangelo with the cup and like Ovi with the cup to be like, this is what it takes. Just have the whole locker room should just be pictures of Brad Marchand.
Ooh.
Yeah, the guy who beat you, just to remind you. Man, shut your fucking face.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Montreal is already talking about trades because Montreal is Montreal.
I think this has been the plan the whole time.
To talk about trades?
Well, they've been offer sheeting guys. They offer sheeted Aho. Supposedly they offer sheeted Point, and Point just chose not to sign it, like Marner with Columbus. They offered Jake Gardiner more money per year than the Hurricanes did. What other avenues do they have to explore? People have been talking about the Toronto tax. Like, oh, you got to pay players more because the market's a pain in the ass. Dude, they won't even sign there. They won't even sign in Montreal. Mm-hmm. So Marc Bergevin's got a job ahead of him. What are the Montreal Canadiens doing with cap room? Stop that. You're the Montreal Canadiens. You have a lot of money.
They haven't weaponized it in the past the way they should have. Like last year, what did they have, $10 million free or something, or $8 million the whole season?
It was ridiculous.
They should have taken a bad contract on or something.
All year, I thought that's what was going to happen with the Canadiens. I thought they were going to add this huge piece at the deadline. They're going to go for it.
If they had been smart, they would have taken the Marleau deal.
Yeah.
Sorry?
If they had been smart, they would have taken Toronto's first in the Marleau's contract.
I think if you're the Leafs, you call everybody other team
first
in the league.
Yeah. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of stuff that you're looking for.
And they could have done it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they got some really exciting. It looks like Nick Suzuki is going to make the team, and they're
but
going to be really good. But
what's interesting is Bergevin brought up Caden Primo's name, and Caden Primo is the hot goaltending prospect.
I saw that.
And he said, well, we're not going to trade him, which is what we heard with PK, unless we get that for top line center.
Yeah. If Bergevin said he's not going to trade you, well, and hey, I'm just some guy in Toronto in my basement.
Yeah, I don't think that was that referencing Darren Dreger? Who was that? Who was he referencing?
I assume it wasn't Darren Dreger. I don't think it's part of his reputation that he does his work from his basement.
From his basement. So was it you?
I don't think so.
So who was it?
I never said anything about Jonathan Drouin getting traded, so I don't know.
Well, weirdly, Drouin last year was the guy that he always has been. And
a lot of guys had career years, and he was just sort of there.
He's just him.
Yeah.
And I think that Drouin is a very good player, but I don't think that he's the guy that they made him be. And
it was
what
like
I mean,
McKinnon, Drouin neck and neck.
Yeah. But I think that Montreal traded it for him, French Canadian guy, and don't tell me that doesn't matter.
It was a giant factor. Come on, guys.
And they wanted to turn him into a top tier centerman. And this guy is not a centerman, never has been. And they tried to do it, doesn't work. He's not responsible enough defensively. It's just not what he's good at.
It's like imagine the Leafs told Alexander Kerfoot,
okay, now you're going to be a top line center.
You're a top line center.
Yeah. Now, Drouin's better
what?
than
I can
better
maybe
than
be
Kerfoot.
third.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
But it's a lot of pressure to put on a young guy coming home to the team he grew up loving and never having done it at the NHL level. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see people in Montreal turn on Drouin because Drouin's always been what he is. This is what he is. it's unfortunate that they brought him in under different circumstances. I mean, they set these expectations that were sky high on this guy. Well, he could be our number one center. Well, he could be a guy that gets 100 points. Well, he could. Instead of going, we just brought him in because he's really talented.
Yeah, I know you're sort of in the hype business, but sometimes there's a time for, what is it, Adam? Under promise, over deliver?
Yes, always.
And yeah, he's going to score 100 points. It's going to be our top line center. Yeah, this guy's going to be, he's going to fill the skates of Saku Koivu. Like, dude, what?
Yeah,
what the
Vinny Donfus,
right,
every other guy.
right.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous.
Drouin, so Bergevin did call Drouin out, said he's not the only one who's not up to par right now.
Say that again.
He said that they asked him about Drouin's play, and he said he's not the only one who's not up to par. So there's a few guys that he's looking. Now, interestingly, on the waivers, we knew Carl Alsner was going to go back down. We knew that. Matthew Pekka, who played all year last year with Charles Hudon, who is also Charles Hudon is on waivers now too.
He's going to get claimed.
You think so?
I'd be shocked if he didn't.
Yeah, I think he's good depth scoring for like a team that's on the rise. Like if you're Ottawa or you're Phoenix or whatever. Like
the Oilers.
Phoenix. Why did I say Phoenix? Arizona. Yeah, the Oilers. Why not the Oilers?
Dude, is there a fast winger on waivers? Oilers should claim him.
The one I thought was interesting was Dale Weiss.
Oh, they put him on waivers.
Yeah, and I like as soon as Sandin, did you see the stick lift, and like Dale Weiss is skating as hard as he can at Sandin. Sandin lifts his stick and just takes the puck away from him. And I thought, yo, there's Dale Weiss's entire camp right there.
Yeah, well, and he took that penalty against the Leafs, and just the look on his face, like really, really frustrated. Dude, Sandin is not a child, by the way.
Yeah, no.
Dude, that guy is a pesky asshole.
Yep.
I know that's not the conversation we're having right now. He is. Oh, I'm so excited for him. He's everything the Leafs.
But Montreal's big thing is like we're gonna have Jordan Wheel fix our power play.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying about with their cap room, and dude, enough of this. Go out there and make a huge trade. You really got to be bold here. Mm-hmm. You really got to. Hey, the Pacioretty deal worked out great.
It did.
You got another one of those in you? You know, you got rid of your top goal scorer and your team's captain. Thomas Tatar has like the season of his friggin' life, and you get Nick Suzuki out of it, who's going to be on your team,
which is
he's
amazing.
Unreal, and I think they got a pick out of it too. Like, okay, keep going. Mm-hmm. Keep going. You in most seasons you would have made the playoffs last year.
I think.
What's next?
I think they've got to. Yeah, and that's the thing is that the question mark for me is where's the step forward this year? Like maybe Nick Suzuki is the step forward, but who else? Like you
Ryan
got
Poehling.
Yeah.
Although he's last I checked in concussion protocol.
And Kotkaniemi, you would think is going to have even a step forward, and that's what, so you think the players are going to get better. That's fine, but I think they need to add to this group still. I really don't think that group is. They might make the playoffs, but how much damage are they going to do? That's the question. And it can't just be at Carey Price's age. He's 32 now. It can't just be about just making the playoffs.
Well, he's at like the beginning of his contract. So.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The Oilers. The reason the Oilers didn't make the playoffs last year scored against them last night.
Twice.
Tobias Reeder.
So I read
the one guy who was the reason.
I read that last night on Twitter. I thought it was a joke. I thought people were kidding.
And Lucci scored too.
I thought people were honest to God kidding. And I watched the highlights this morning and I went, oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Oh, and it was on Koskinen. And
glove side on Koskinen, which apparently is a major problem.
Well, that's what they say. I mean,
is the book out on Koskinen?
I feel like most goalies' glove side is a little bit of their weakness, but listen, I know it's preseason. It is funny. You will not talk me into believing this is not hilarious. It's really, hilarious. Really funny.
I think Calgary's loving it.
Oh my God, of course. Of course.
But I think the one thing we're not talking about, and maybe in Edmonton they are, but I haven't seen a lot on it even from the Edmonton media, which is usually pretty intense. We are not talking enough about Connor McDavid's knee.
Supposedly he looks okay. I haven't seen a lot of him.
Okay. Sure.
He's been playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he rehabbed the shit out of that all summer. And it's not fully healthy yet.
Was it his knee or because we all thought his leg was broken?
From what I understand, it's his knee.
Interesting.
I mean, according to what I read, it was a pretty rough summer with his knee, just rehabbing it. So
And that's a
that's fine that he looks good now in
really
the preseason, and Connor McDavid will always look good. Even injured Connor McDavid is better than most players ever.
80% of Connor McDavid still gets 100 points.
Yeah.
It was a torn left PCL.
I don't even
Torn
know what that
anything
is.
with a knee.
Yeah.
Not good. Not great. So let's say, is it fair to say that the Oilers' entire season rests on Connor McDavid?
Yes, it's fair to say that every year.
Is it fair to say then that the Oilers' entire season sort of rests on Connor McDavid's knee?
Well, and even if it's 100%, it might not be enough.
Exactly. That's the point.
Yeah, man.
So that knee, you can
Holland's
tell me
got-
that it's fully healthy. It's not, and you know it's not. And they talked about going into camp. Like, it's not healthy yet, guys. It's not there.
Yeah. Dude.
And they haven't done anything to add.
And what's amazing is, are they not doing the same thing to him that they did last year?
Yep.
Last year, Ty Ratty looked great, and he got the dream job. This year, I've been seeing, is Thomas Yurcho going to be on McDavid's wing to start the season?
Yeah. I'm going to see
you
what Daily
kidding?
Face-Off had.
Are you kidding? Dude, it's not good enough.
No.
It's not good enough.
No.
And God bless Thomas Yurcho. I got to interview him when he was with the St. John Sea Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
They won the Memorial Cup.
So they have it listed as Draisaitl McDavid because Draisaitl, I know he scored a lot of goals.
Who's guy 3?
Zach Kassian.
Okay.
That's how they have it listed. That doesn't mean that. And then Nygaard, Nugent Hopkins, and Neal. And I thought
Nygaard's
Neal was the guy who was supposed to play with Connor McDavid. That's why they got him.
Well, he's a European free agent.
Mm-hmm. Not Nygaard. Neal. I thought Neal was the guy that was supposed to play with McDavid. On the right side, anyway. Gagne, Granlund, Chason, Kara, Sheehan, Archibald.
The team's just not deep enough.
No, it's not. But it's not any different than last year's team. Ken Holland came in and people shut up, I guess.
Unless their European free agents really hit.
Mm-hmm.
And they might have a similar season to what we're expecting out of Yzerman in Detroit.
No, they can't.
Ken Holland's got to make moves.
Oh, yes. No, they can't have that season. Yzerman has the benefit of...
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean they tank on purpose. I mean,
Okay.
they just need to make wholesale changes.
Yes.
And none of this deck chairs shit, the Brandon Manning contract, I don't even remember who he was traded for. Just do anything of consequence.
The part for me that I keep talking about is that McDavid clock is ticking, guys. And you could... Edmonton fans could say, oh, it doesn't exist, he'll stay no matter what. I don't know. Would you?
Even if that clock does not exist and he's going to stay forever, it's clear he alone is one man and he's not enough. Go out. It shouldn't be this hard to go out and find someone for the best player in the league.
Connor Brown would have been a real cheap pickup for you. You could have got him. And he would have been great.
He would not have been enough and still would have been a far superior option to anything they got.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Ken Holland's got some work to do. It sounds like he's trying, and it's, you can't force people to play for your team like we've seen with Montreal and everything.
Yep.
You got to go out there and do something, man. You got to do trades. You got to do, I don't care what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Be a vulture on the waiver wire. There's some good players on waivers this time of year.
McDavid had 116 points last year, and it wasn't enough.
Come on. Weren't they the first, I want to say they were the first team since 1990 to have 200-plus point players and miss the playoffs.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Some sort of stat.
Yeah, because him and Draisaitl both had 100-plus.
Draisaitl scored 50 goals. No one cared. No
50
one cared.
and 50 and 55. Yeah, it was 50 goals, 55 assists. It's crazy.
How is that? Dude, no one not named Alexander Ovechkin does that. Alex, he doesn't count. He's a cheat code. Leon Draisaitl scored 50 goals. And, they weren't even, they weren't in arm's reach.
No.
They weren't close.
No.
They kept saying they were, but they were not.
The standard to make the playoffs in the West was 90.
Yeah, they got 79 points. And the final, Colorado got 90. Yeah, so missed by 11. 7th in the Pacific.
And they played some sad hockey games, man. I didn't get to see a ton of them on ice surfing nights because I'd be in the car or whatever, but They were often when I got to fill in on Hockey Central Saturdays, they'd play the day game.
Mm-hmm.
Get murdered, like while we were prepping for the show. And then the first bit of the show was just, so the Oilers got demolished again.
Yeah, here are some highlights we have.
And if I remember correctly, it was almost always the Sharks.
But I don't know.
They got to do something different.
Well, and the problem is that for some reason, to me, the most damaging thing is they let Chiarelli negotiate the Koskinen deal.
Which they would have done anyway, supposedly.
No, I don't. Yeah, exactly. I don't believe that shit either. That deal could turn out, and there are Oiler fans who are like, well, he could be good. Sure, he could. But from how it looks right now, and I'd love to see 40 games from now, maybe we're singing a different tune. But from how it looks right now, of all the deals they've done, that to me is the most damaging because that's the position. They don't have the cap room to go out and change it, and that's the problem.
Charlie Lindgren is on waivers right now. And Louis Domingue was on waivers. And I think either might have been a better option and cheaper than Mike Smith.
Yeah, why Mike Smith?
And that's
for
a Holland
$2 million.
Yeah, like why Mike?
That's a Holland decision. Well, and Mike Smith is he's one
like
of the weirdest goalies in the NHL though.
Is he kind of like the Cam Ward, like he was good once and he hasn't been good for several years, but they're still paying him like he is?
Well, if Cam Ward was like an $8.75 goalie for 3 weeks of the month and got 3 consecutive shutouts after that. That's the kind of goalie Mike Smith is.
Yeah.
Streaky, except the bias towards the bad.
Not good.
Ken Holland's got a job to do, man. It shouldn't be this hard to surround Connor McDavid with talent.
No.
It just shouldn't be.
No. Lastly, I just want to this is just a quick thing for Leaf fans. Guess who is a lock to make the Bruins this year, guys?
Par Lindholm.
That's right.
Oh, fun.
Lindholm. You can laugh, but the Bruins are still really good. And he's going to be killing penalties for them. And he's going to be playing with Backus.
I had no problem with him killing penalties last year. Shit, it could have come in handy in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe Par Lindholm was, they didn't use Nick Petan, did they?
Yeah.
So.
They were using Par Lindholm at least. Anyway.
Yeah.
So it is time for your way too early predictions. Okay? Way too early predictions. I want to do real quick on this one, okay, guys? You ready? You ready? Way too early predictions on your division winners for each division, okay? So we're going to start with the Central Division in the Western Conference. Blackhawks, Avs, Stars, Wild, Preds, Blues, Jets. Who wins the division?
I'm trying to remember who I said yesterday. Give me all the teams again.
Blackhawks, Avs, Stars, Wild, Preds, Blues, Jets.
Avs.
Really?
Colorado. Yep.
Jesse?
You took my pick, Colorado.
I'm going to go with St. Louis.
I'm reigning Stanley Cup champions, yeah.
Good pick.
Good pick.
Pacific Division, Ducks, Coyotes, Flames, Oilers, Kings, Sharks, Canucks, Golden Knights, and I believe the Flames won it last year.
Mm-hmm.
They did. Yeah. I want to say with 107 points.
The Golden Knights are good. The Sharks are always good. The Flames are going to be good. And it seems like feast or famine in that division. Yeah, you're either great or you're not.
A full season of Mark Stone, Vegas.
Interesting. Jesse.
The Vancouver Canucks
are going to win the Pacific.
You're out of your mind.
Why not?
Nikolai Goldobin, 50 goals. Let's go.
Maybe.
Brock Besser, 35 and 70.
Dude, do you see that dog shit hit that he took?
Oh, yeah.
No.
The front, Chris Tierney?
No,
hit him from behind. He went into concussion protocol. I think he's already had one in his career. It was a terrible hit.
Not going to stop him from 35 and 70.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
You know what I think?
What?
I think Martin Jones rebounds this year.
If he does, they win the cup.
I think it's the damn Sharks who just will not die. Like they're the oldest bloody team in the NHL. But if Martin Jones is Martin Jones, average, regular Martin Jones, the Sharks win that division.
They almost went to the Stanley Cup final with the worst starting goaltender in the NHL.
Yes.
Last year. He was the worst starting goalie in the NHL.
He was an .898, I think, wasn't he? Crazy.
And Aaron Dell was behind him and worse.
Potentially the most interesting and fun division in the league this year, the Metropolitan. Hurricanes, Blue Jackets, Devils, Islanders, Rangers, Flyers, Penguins, and Capitals. Of the 8 teams that I just mentioned, I would say 6 of them have gone through major renovations. Some good, some not.
Right.
The Capitals are basically the same. The Flyers sort of did their renovations last year. They're basically the same as how they ended last year.
Full season of Carter Hart
and
make a difference.
Kevin Hayes.
Did you see? So there was a GIF going around Alain Vigneault supposedly.
Say we can't win with goaltending like this.
Yeah.
It was the
It's
Brian
shit.
Elliott clip. Yeah,
Yeah.
ain't good. Ain't
'Cause
good.
they haven't
There's
figured-
another guy whose clock is ticking.
Philadelphia, where you can never get a goalie. Like
It's
Flyer fans are like
It's
pulling their hair out.
unbelievable.
And they had Bobrovsky, and they traded him.
For like nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Well, they had Brzgalov.
you got the Canes, you got the Jackets, you got the Devils, Islanders, Rangers, Flyers, Penguins, Capitals. Who wins the division?
Caps are going to be really good. I say the Canes.
Canes.
Hurricanes.
Okay.
The New Jersey Devils are going to
Wow.
go from last place to first place.
Who's their goalie? That's not, by the way, the last
Corey
time.
Schneider.
Corey Schneider is not their starter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Is he really?
Well,
still?
Yeah.
they don't have Keith Kincaid anymore. I think it's
'cause he
Schneider
was-
and Blackwood. Mackenzie
Yeah.
Blackwood.
Yeah. They're going to be good.
It's you're relying on Schneider having a big bounce back for sure.
Hey, why not?
You know what? Lost in last season. Like they weren't great on paper, but they were also injured a lot. So you have a healthy season. You're revamped. Hopefully, you don't have one of the worst tandems in the entire NHL.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could happen.
What do you think? You say Canes, right?
I say Hurricanes. Yeah,
Okay. I'm going to go with the Capitals. Because
great pick.
not just because it's the safe pick, it's they are the best team in that division.
Yeah.
And
they
their
ran into
Capitals,
the Hurricanes.
The Capitals are another perfect example of what can happen, like the Penguins were, and still might be, when you have a few superstars that you're able to hang on to for 10 years. And you're just able to cycle in new players, and you draft well, and then we can't hang on to this guy. We got to trade him. Can't hang on to this guy. Can't hang on to Grubauer anymore. Got to trade him. We lost Golden Knights. Who did they lose in the draft? The really good defenseman who was really good against the
Nate
Leafs.
Schmidt.
Nate Schmidt. You lose that guy. But they continue to be great because Alexander Ovechkin and Backstrom and all the other guys that they've hung on to.
Yeah.
Now, lastly, we're going to go with the Atlantic Division on this one. Bruins, Sabres, Red Wings, Panthers, Canadiens, Senators, Lightning, Maple Leafs. Who wins the division?
It's still insane to go against the Lightning. They're just so good.
Jesse,
On paper.
especially
Yeah,
with
it's,
Shattenkirk at it on that,
Like,
and
fuck off.
maroon
Like,
and
I
like
couldn't believe they did
yeah.
It's the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah. This is regular season, by the way.
Regular season.
I
That's
don't
all
know.
I'm asking.
I don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs. but-
I am going to go off board. I think
and pick someone from the Central.
it's the Boston Bruins.
That'd be really off the board. You think the Boston Bruins?
I think they're going to win.
Why not?
The entire Atlantic.
I do, and
with
here's why.
42-year-old Zdeno Chara.
Yep, I do. I think so because they just made the finals and lost, and it was a real heartbreaker. And I think it's one of those things that they're going to come out on fire. Now, I don't know if Boston will sustain being on fire all year, but I think they're pretty pissed that they lost that final last year, which they should have really won, I think. And
I think
all you
you're
have to
absolutely
do
right.
is win a lot in the first couple months and then play 500 hockey the rest of the way, and you can do it. And I think that the Boston Bruins are going to come out on fire. Watch out for the Bruins this year.
I think they're a little bit of the opposite of what the Blue Jackets were for a long time and the Hurricanes were for a long time, where we're like, this is their year where they make it. They don't make it. This is their year, and we did that until we stopped doing it, and then they made it. I keep going. This can't sustain. The Chara is old. Bergeron is
How is he not more beat
not
up?
that old, but his body's older.
Yeah. Hard miles.
Marchand's 31, and he's in his prime and playing his best hockey, but after that, it goes down.
Yeah.
Is Tuukka Rask going to be as good as he was last year? Yeah, I know they got some young parts. Every team's got them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Not every team has Torrey Krug
I
and
think
Charlie
you gotta,
McAvoy.
I think that they're looking at this too. Like, this is Zdeno's last year. They have to look at it like it's Zdeno's last year.
They got a full year of Charlie Cole.
Yep. Which is a really good pickup for them, low key.
Hopefully Jake DeBrusk is healthy because he basically played 2 months unhealthy during the playoffs.
Yep. There's
I
really
can see it, but there's going to come a time, and it might not be this season, when Patrice Bergeron can't do it anymore. Surely there is. Unless there isn't. I mean, a lot of Hall of Fame players, they just are amazing and then retire.
I'm a little wonky on Tampa. And can I tell you why?
Because you saw them fail?
Well, yeah, I think they saw them fail.
This is what I've been saying for months.
It's not the skill on Tampa that I'd be worried about. It's the between the ears stuff. That 4-game series might have been the most damaging thing. I
thought it was bold of Patrick Maroon to do the ring kissing thing.
Yeah.
Like, buddy, have a look down at your jersey. It ain't the Blues anymore.
No. On paper, it should be better. It should be better than the Blues.
Yep. Yep.
I think that there's a chance that Tampa's in their own heads.
I
And that's why I'm going with the Bruins.
something in you has to break when you lose like that.
Right.
I can't imagine the Lightning are looking around that locker room and they feel the same way they did before the playoffs began last year.
Yep, I agree.
They can't be.
I agree.
Unless they're like super mentally tough and they really believe in each other and everything, but man,
Okay.
that's a factor.
Pick one team in the entire NHL that did not make the playoffs last year that will this year.
Can I just say, if you're going to say that about Tampa, you can say the same thing about the Leafs.
Yeah, but it wasn't a 4-game sweep, and it was a better series. They could have wrapped it up in Game 6.
Well, and the Leafs had a
Does
ridiculous
that-
amount of turnover though.
Yeah.
They had a shitload of turnover.
Yeah,
So like
there you go.
it's a new year for them. Like
That was heartbreaking, but it wasn't embarrassing.
yeah.
The last game was a little embarrassing.
Sure.
Also, the way they played down the stretch, I wasn't like, they're going to win the cup for sure.
Sure.
Like, the Lightning, for God's sake, the Blue Jackets barely made the playoffs.
Yeah. So-
But the Blue Jackets who were in the playoffs weren't the Blue Jackets who were in game like 40. It was a completely different team. A team that like
That's true.
ramped up to go for
Yep.
it.
Yeah,
Right?
But, like, after they ramped up, they sucked.
Yeah, but then they got it together.
Yeah, at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, like,
Pick, guys,
Indiana Jones. Sorry.
pick a team that did not make the playoffs last year that will make it this year.
I think I know what Jesse's going to say, so I
Yeah.
won't say them.
Who's my team?
I would
I
assume
assume
that
you're
you're the
going to say New
Devils.
Jersey because you think they're going to win the friggin' division.
Oh, yeah. By default, I guess I can go with that. Yeah. There you go.
Unless you got someone else you want to pick.
No, that's good.
Ooh. Arizona.
Man, every freaking year.
Every friggin' year. I was going to say Vancouver.
I don't think so.
The Pacific, Vancouver, I don't know contractually how smart they were, but they're better than they were last year on paper
Yeah.
anyway. Is it good? Remember, it's the Pacific.
Yeah.
Sharks are real good. Golden Knights are real good.
And then
And Flames. But after that, like the wild card is there. It's definitely there. People are talking about how strong the Central is. Well, yeah, the Central has to play against the Central. They'll beat each other up.
you picked my pick. I've been picking for years. I picked the Canes and the Coyotes. I am still sticking with the Coyotes, and I'll tell you why.
I'll say Vancouver then.
Over the
Just to be different.
Okay. Over the Canucks for me is the fact that it's the Phil Kessel factor. It's the fact that they have a guy who is a bona fide 35 goal scorer. And he is getting older.
And he's money in the bank for 70+ points.
Yes. They have never had that. They couldn't finish. They got the finisher.
Yeah.
And I think Antti Ranta is a good goalie. And
He's
I
going to
think
miss the start of the season.
he's going to because he's always
Dude,
freaking
Darcy
injured.
Kemper was unbelievable last year.
Yep.
One of the most underrated players in the league.
Who makes the biggest fall this year?
Got to be the Blue Jackets, right? Like, they geared up so hard.
I guess, sorry.
Does that count?
Surprise fall.
surprise fall?
We expect the Blue Jackets to fall.
Does it count if I pick Dallas?
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they'll trail off
Really?
a little bit. Yeah.
Interesting.
Ben Bishop was really good last year to drag them in.
So you think they'll be horseshit again?
Plucking for a spit.
I'll tell you mine.
Okay.
New York Islanders.
See, I don't know if that's a surprise.
I
though.
think it will absolutely be
It
a
was a
shock to their
surprise
fans.
that they were great. And then they lost a giant component of what made them great. So to me, I'm like, well, yeah, they lost Robin Lehner. So, like, it would be surprising to me if they repeated it.
Really?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who think they're. I mean, they
I
are
don't think
quite
they're going to be
deep.
dog shit, but
No.
like,
I just don't. I think they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot all year, but I don't think they have the goaltending to bring them over the top. That's just my opinion.
surprising fall.
And you don't think that's a surprise, eh? Because they did win the division. That's surprising.
No, they were second.
Oh, second.
to the
Oh,
Caps.
okay.
But I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
they were real close. I mean, you lose. How many teams can afford to lose a Vezina nominee?
Yeah.
That's tough. That's tough, man. Biggest surprise fall. What? Why not the Blues?
Really?
Why not?
Well, they were last place going into. You
Yeah.
know, they're capable of last and first, evidently.
I mean, and also the standard is they won the Cup.
I'm actually surprised nobody picked. Jesse, did you say one?
Dallas.
Yeah. Nobody picked the Pens. Interesting.
That won't be surprising to me.
Really?
No,
Okay.
dude.
All right. So
they got swept in the first round. Like, did not look like a strong playoff team at all.
Mm-hmm. Sidney
Crosby dragged them into a playoff spot. Sidney Crosby had an unreal final quarter of the season last year.
Yeah.
What does he got to do? What does the guy got to do?
Okay. So here it is.
I'm surprised none of you picked the Blackhawks as a surprise playoff team. That's like the sexy pick. Everyone's picking the Blackhawks.
I haven't seen. I'm not sold on what they have yet. Not sold.
Not yet.
Not yet. I'd like to see them play. Okay. Who wins the Cup? Way too early Cup prediction for September.
Hurricanes.
Jesse.
Just let me take a look at these standings again. Who wins the 2020 Stanley Cup Finals? I think if I'm going to go out on a limb and pick a team who nobody thinks can do it.
Well, you don't have to do that. You can just pick whatever.
I'm going to pick the Tampa Bay Lightning.
All right.
Wow. Bold.
Somebody's got to stick their neck out every once in a while, you know?
Bold pick.
Yeah.
This is why I picked the stupid Panthers, because it would be a surprise if the best team in the sport wins.
Yeah, it would be. It would be.
Is anyone denying the Lightning are the best team in the sport?
No.
On paper, they're the best team in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Got swept. First round.
My pick is it's finally their goddamn year. All right? This is the last year they have to do it.
Oh, here it is.
It's the San Jose Sharks, kids. Martin Jones just has to be Martin Jones. And the San Jose Sharks can win the Cup.
If he is a 9-10 goalie, they win the Cup.
Yes.
He can still be below.
Now, they don't
average.
have Pavelski anymore.
No.
Which is big.
And
that's why the Blackhawks look good.
Dallas.
Oh, Dallas. Wait, no. Why do I see Chicago has? No, yeah, Dallas has them.
Yeah.
Well, because he was rumored to be going to Chicago.
Right.
For a long time.
That's going to be so weird seeing him in Dallas. Yeah. Weird. But I think
they got Pavelski. They got Corey Perry is a Dallas Star now.
I think the Sharks also pick up Patrick Marleau at the trade deadline on a quick thing and just dress him for a game. Dress him for a game.
Like Mike Fisher?
Yeah, just fresh Patrick Marleau. I think the Sharks finally are like, this is it. This really is it for a lot of these guys. Like Thornton's done after this year. Like really
I'm very
is.
surprised Marleau doesn't have a team.
I think it's because he wants two teams, and those two teams don't want him.
Yeah, so it's
like the Canes wanted him to play for them.
Yeah.
They tried to convince him to stay.
I think the Oilers
and
would
it cost him money
him to be an Oiler. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, interesting.
Can I do a parlay and also pick the Leafs? Is that allowed
to win?
Yeah.
You think
for
sure going to
win? Why not?
Yeah.
That's a good point. Why not? Is a good question.
Any team could win any year. The NHL is so random recently.
Yeah. So don't screw your face up when I say the Panthers.
Except for the Panthers. If the Panthers make the playoffs this year, I'll be pretty shocked.
No, I won't be, man. They're a really good team. They could not stop a beach ball. That was the problem.
Yeah, we'll see if Bobrovsky can still
what Bobrovsky are we getting?
Right.
Yeah.
The Bobrovsky that got Todd Richards fired, or the Bobrovsky that's kept John Tortorella employed?
Man, he sucked for a week and a half and got a guy fired.
Yeah. 7 games in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Telling you. It matters. So, you know what? We're not going to do a press conference today.
No.
Because we haven't started the season yet.
That was it.
Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah, and we're 2 hours and 10 minutes
in,
so are we?
2:07-ish.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, listen, thank you so much for listening. We are back Wednesday.
Whoa.
Wednesday afternoon. And that night, the Toronto Maple Leafs will play their first game. Whoa. It's going to be very exciting. So we'll do a little bit of a season preview. We'll get into a little bit more in depth on what we think the Leafs are going to be able to do. Obviously, there will be more developments around the league and that sort of thing. So we'll talk about all that then. Yeah. But again, we are back, baby, and we are back to 2 a week. Sundays and Wednesdays are when we record. Just so you know, that doesn't necessarily mean we'll post immediately after the show. It takes some time to edit. So sometimes it'll be the next morning.
Obviously.
Just a heads up. We love you. Let's do this hockey.
That's not even. Oh,
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Brought to you by Panago Pizza. Order at panago.com and stuff your face with deliciousness. Connection complete.